in downtown Birmingham. It is the Birmingham Barons Media Day, in which the players get an opportunity, the new management, to be able to rub shoulders with people like Conrad Van Order and get to talk about the upcoming season. They're Southern League champions, the Birmingham
They
Barons. And the general manager of the Barons, Jonathan Nelson, he will join us here in about 10 minutes from now, and we will talk a little baseball with him.
I know why we're really here. This is your ring ceremony. That's really what this is.
Is that what's going on?
I think.
Is this?
Oh, I thought that's what this whole thing was about. Is Jonathan was going to be on the show. He's going to present Landrum. Unfortunately, not here. I will accept on his behalf, but yeah, I thought that's why we were up here.
So this is a surprise. Molly, did you know about this? Am I getting a ring today?
I did not know about this, but I hope you get your ring.
I hope I get my ring too.
Well, you deserve one because y'all were part of the team last year.
We were part of the team.
That's right.
Landrum and I, we did a Barons game mid-season against the team that they beat for the Southern League Championship, the Tennessee Smokies. Mm-hmm. So we were part of the broadcast team.
Yeah, I know. You deserve a ring.
I mean, Kirk Bloom got a nice ring.
He did. I saw
it's
the
a beautiful
video.
Ring.
It was very nice.
It's fantastic. So yeah, we'll badger Jonathan Nelson about that coming up a little bit later. I was communicating with Landrum this morning at about 5:30. He was already at the Birmingham airport. I think he flew out around 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So we were going back and forth, and I got a feeling he didn't tell me. He probably stayed up all night because his Braves lost again.
Yeah.
So he's probably got heartburn. He's probably frustrated. So just please, mercy on the stewardesses there on the airplane.
I was more worried about whoever, unfortunately has the seats next to the lavatory. Those would be the seats that I did not want on that flight. But
yeah, I told him, I said,
Godspeed.
please don't do any wings before you get on the plane.
5:30 a.m. wings before you get on your flight.
Would that surprise you with Landrum?
No, it would not. No, it would not.
So Landrum will be checking in from San Antonio. So a little bit of news, and we briefly talked about this yesterday. So the big question is, what's going on with Janai Broom, if anything? So yesterday on Pardon My Take, Bruce Pearl was a guest on that podcast, and he says, all I can tell you is that he's not going to practice for a couple days. He needs to rest and recover. All year long, he's bounced back from injuries, a shoulder and ankle. I have no doubt that he'll bounce back from this, but we probably won't move him much until Thursday. And if you remember, Broom got dinged up. He played 29 minutes in the Elite Eight, finished with 25 points, 14 rebounds. He sent State Farm Arena into a frenzy when he came off the bench and hit that big three-pointer. So I don't think there's anything to this, Conrad. Not sure how you feel about this. But him just openly admitting that he's pretty banged up and we're not going to move him around until Thursday, that is newsworthy.
Yeah, it is, but I think that's also the smart thing to do, right? At this point in the season, I understand, if you can go out there and practice, you certainly want to be able to do that. But, no, you give this guy as much time off as he needs. If he doesn't practice a lick between the Elite Eight and Final Four, I think you're perfectly fine with that because you know that he's put the work in not only this year, but throughout his entire career to where he's going to be ready for that. But yeah, the big concern I think for him is more, you just don't want something to happen where you're re-aggravating that injury, perhaps early on in the game against Florida, and it's causing you problems to where you're not able to come back into that game, or you're not able to come back in and be as effective as you were against Michigan State at least. So, no, we'll keep up to this over the next couple of days and see how it progresses for Janai Broom, but I'm not surprised to hear that he's not going to be practicing. I think we all know. He said, I'm done, right, when he was on the floor on Saturday, and so the fact that he was able to even come back at all is remarkable. But, yeah, let this man rest up, give him his chance to get as healthy as possible, and, the reality is for him, when was the last time he was 100% healthy, right? It's probably been since the first time they played Duke, if not even before that, so I think he'll be just fine.
Not to mention the fact that Vegas has not done anything with the point spread. So, and we all see this. We see this in football all the time. When there's a quarterback or somebody shows up on an injured list in league play, all of a sudden it manipulates the point spread. And as of right now, nothing has changed. Florida is still a 2.5-point favorite. The over/under is 159.5. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, he's going to join us at 10:45 as we will talk to him about the Final Four.
I think I know how he's going to feel about one of those games.
Yeah, I think the Florida game. He's probably going to talk about load up on Florida by double digits. That's just Brian and his Florida fandom.
He has been riding high here the last couple of weeks.
Yes, he has. But I want to ask him how much money he's actually made because he talks this big game on social media. And that's not a shot. You can go follow him
Oh, he does.
at
Yeah.
Vegas B. Edwards, and you can see his work. But he loves him some Gators, big time. So we'll see if he feels that way against the Auburn Tigers coming up this weekend. Chris Stewart, brought to you by Craneworks. He will join us at 11 o'clock. The voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide will get his thoughts on Alabama out of the Elite Eight with the loss to Duke and how he sees moving forward this Duke team. Can anybody stop that juggernaut? 11:30, Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16. He will join the program. And then at 1 o'clock, we will find out exactly what's going on with Johni Broome. Nathan King, he's about to head to San Antonio for Auburn Undercover. We will talk to him about what is going on with the prep for the Auburn Tigers. We start with the Atlanta Braves. A lot of people still concerned with what's going on. They've been on the West Coast since the opening of the baseball season. Last night, they took an early 1-0 lead, but Mookie Betts, 2-run homer in the 6th inning off of Chris Sale, gave the Dodgers the lead that they needed, as the Dodgers, they're now off to their best start since 1955. They are 7-0, and they don't look like they're slowing down. They win 3-1 against the Braves. The Braves, one of the things that we continue to talk about is their offense and how putrid it is. They went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position last night. That means that they are now 1 for 34 on the season. That is a 0.29, .029 average.
It'd be a great ERA.
Ugh.
While runners are in scoring position, and they only have 2 runs in their last 40 innings.
Oh.
Well, I was about to say, in 4 of the 6 games this year, you've scored 1 run or been shut out completely, and that's just not the recipe to win. And I'm sure y'all talked about it yesterday. I heard a little bit of the conversation, and, yes, you are playing the best team in baseball right now in the Dodgers. The Padres are
Very
no
good.
slouch, a very,
Very good.
very good team that I think is flying under the radar a little bit just because everyone's talking about the Dodgers in the West. But still, this is a Braves team that a lot of people picked to win the NL East. A lot of people picked them to potentially be in the World Series, even over a Dodgers team. And so to not have a single win to your name at this point, especially when you have a guy like Chris Sale who won the Cy Young last year. I know he's older, but you would think at some point here and there you would have been able to scrounge up 1 win in your first 6 games. And I know y'all talked about, Landry brought up, well, the last time we went 0-4, we won a World Series. Well, when you've gone 0-5, you've never even made the postseason at that point.
So now you're 0-6.
I was about to say, now you're 0-6, so we'll see what that ultimately means. I mean, this Braves team is certainly talented enough to work themselves into the playoff hunt, even with a start like this, but you're digging yourself a deep hole now, and now you got another game against the Dodgers, and it's not looking, great to not be 0-7 coming out of this West Coast road trip for the Braves. So they got to find some answers quickly, and I know Acuna and Strider and some of those guys are still coming back, but you've got enough talent on this roster right now to start winning some baseball games.
So I mentioned it. They went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So the runners in scoring position average 1 of 34, so that's .029. Listen to some of these batting averages of the guys and dudes that you're paying a lot of money and expect. When Ozuna is leading the Big Four with a .214 batting average, Matt Olson is batting .167. Albies is batting .136, and Austin Riley is batting 91 points better than me. He's .091, Austin Riley.
Yeah.
That's your story.
Why? Okay, if you are the Atlanta Braves, are you not ordering the largest shipment of torpedo bats that you possibly
Why
not?
can? Why? Seriously, why would you not be doing that right now?
I saw a great interview with the CEO of a company that is making the torpedo bats, one of the development, and I'm telling you, it's amazing how that technology has been there over the last few years. It was the Yankees that the first team to take advantage of it, which is completely legal, by the way.
Yes, it is.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, Ellie De La Cruz of Cincinnati, he used him.
He lit it up the other night.
Yeah, he used them. So I think that the technology has been there, and it will continue to be there. And I'm like you, at this juncture, you're 6 games in and you're 0-6, and history tells you that you're not going to make the playoffs based on that rough start. That doesn't mean that they can't buck history, Last time they started off this bad was back in 2016, and the Braves started 0-9. That was the year they went 5-18 in the month of April.
Mm-hmm.
And after 37 games, they fired Freddie Gonzalez, and guess who they hired? Brian Snitker. The team that year in 2016, just to kind of use this as an example,
Yeah.
they started off 0-9. They went 5-18 in April. They finished dead last in the National League East. They had a 68-93 record for the year, and they finished 26 and a half games out of first place.
Yeah, that's not a good track record if if that's what you're potentially staring down the barrel of right now. If you're a Braves fan, I guess the good news is that after you get done with the Dodgers, you do get to play the Marlins, and so maybe that kind of gets the ball rolling for
Sure.
you. But then who do you have after the Marlins? The Phillies. Then you got to play Tampa Bay, who's in first place in the AL East right now. So it's rough, and again, just projecting coming into the season, whatever you thought about the Braves, I think we all thought worst case scenario, right? This is going to be a wild card team, and they could very well still end up in that situation, but it's not going to get a whole lot easier for them, and especially when you play, it'd be one thing, no offense to, Molly's team, but if you play in the AL Central, right? Maybe you have some ground to work up,
Sure.
or to work back from. But if you're in the NL East with the Phillies, the Mets, when you dig yourself this big of a hole early on,
That's
it can be
tough.
difficult to get yourself back into it, even though we're only 6 games into the season.
No doubt about it. So Bryce Elder will take on Blake Snell in the series trip finale. That game can be heard right here on Jocks 94.5. That is a 6:20 airtime on Jocks 94.5. Braves also got some more news in which Ronaldo Lopez, who went on the IL, he is going to have surgery on his pitching shoulder, and appears that he is going to be out for an extended absence, according to Brian Snitker. Lopez and the team won't know the severity of the damage to his shoulder or the specifics of the kind of surgery he's going to need until they open him up. So they could get in there. It's not as bad as, obviously, being out for the year, but it could be something where you might not see him for a couple months or at least to the All-Star break. He signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with Atlanta last season. So a week into the season, and he's going under the knife.
Yeah, and I mean, you do hate it because last year, I mean, the Braves are just ravished by injuries, and you're still now paying the repercussions of Acuna's injury last year, Strider's injury last year. Now you've got this coming up. So it has been a rough couple of years for them as far as injuries go to key contributors for them, but yeah, and you couple that up with the Profar news I know y'all talked about yesterday. It's just I wish I could offer words of encouragement to Braves fans right now, but I really don't know what I could say that would make Landrum or anybody else about it feel any better. You're just going to have to start winning some baseball games and stringing together wins and winning a couple series to get this goodwill back because, again, like we just said, looking at their schedule ahead, I mean, it's not going to be easy over the next 10 games either.
No, it is not. We're live at Regions Field in downtown Birmingham. It is Birmingham Barons Media Day. Jonathan Nelson, the general manager of the Barons, will join us next. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It is 10:19, Jocks 94.5. Major League Baseball got things underway last week. We're just days away from the Southern League defending champion Birmingham Barons. Man, that is a great ringing endorsement of this team, this franchise, what they've been able to do. It's first one in a while, Jonathan, but hopefully a repeat, right?
Yeah,
year?
I mean, the inaugural season, 2013, when we opened Regents Field, we were fortunate. It was a dream season in clinching a championship, and last year, 2024, was our first one since then. So certainly magical, and it was a great way, a happy ending to a really fun season.
Well, it's going to be posted. Did you post it?
It's in the process.
It's in the process.
It'll be up there shortly.
You're going to see something on social media.
It's up there now.
Jonathan, you and I have known each other for a very long time, and I could understand yesterday being April Fool's Day, you doing what you just did to me.
Oh, that would have been perfect. One day late.
But just wait till you see the video of, I mean, Jonathan, you're a great guy, but I can't believe you would do that to me.
Not fair. I get it. It's cruel and unusual punishment, to say the least.
Quickly, just tell the audience what just happened.
It's so in the break when Jonathan's coming over here to sit down with us and talk some Barons baseball, he brings over a very nice case with him, puts it down on the table, and
He presents it to me.
He does. He presents it to Pat, and inside is the Southern League Championship ring for the Barons last season. And
it's amazing.
It fit Pat perfectly.
It was like a glove.
I know. And then at the last second, Jonathan said, "Well, I just wanted you to get a glimpse of it."
Yeah, just shifted gears.
So it's not mine.
It is not yours.
And it wasn't Landrum's.
It was not.
No, Landrum's going to be Landrum's the one you got to watch out for.
You had to be present to win. So unfortunately, that's the case with Landrum.
Okay, so let's talk about this year's team. You and I were talking a few minutes ago off the air about the talent that's on this roster. And just the expectations of this team before, obviously, they get up to AAA or they get to the parent club.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the White Sox at the major league level, they've had some tough sledding over the last couple of years, and clearly last year, 2024, was the most difficult, a historically bad year. So they've been in the rebuild mode for quite some time, whether it be trades, drafts, acquisitions, whatever it is. And so, us being the AA affiliate, we're benefiting from a lot of those, acquisitions. Sure. And so last year you saw that front and center, hence we clinched and won the Southern League Championship. And out of the gate, once again this year, I mean, we're going to have the top two left-handed pitching prospects in all of minor league baseball.
SEC flair, to say the very least.
And the number one draft pick by the White Sox, 5th overall, Hagen Smith from
Arkansas.
I mean, obviously, I saw him pitch last year in Tuscaloosa against the Tide. So, I mean, when you talk about this team, not only the pitching, but the hitters and position players, all those type of things, I think what you have is, a lot of the same suspects from last year that won the championship, yet at the same time an influx of talented players as well that are new.
So what about on the coaching side? I know you'll have a new manager coming in this year, Jonathan. So what can you tell us kind of about him, how maybe philosophically, maybe if there's any difference for how he's going to run the Barons versus how they've been run in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Sergio did an incredible job last year. He had that unique sort of perspective and experience of being a major league player, not only a position player, but a pitcher as well, and drafted by the Blue Jays. But ultimately, Q, our new manager, Guillermo, I'm really excited about everything that the White Sox have said. When he was in A-ball last year, just tremendous. And the way he is a player's manager relates to the players, they just love him. So I'm really excited about what we're going to have this year. I don't think we're going to miss a step in regards to exciting, talented play on the field. And, folks will be able to enjoy all the fun promotions that we do outside the baselines here at Regents Field for Barons games, and also see some of the best prospects in all of minor league baseball, not only for our team, but for the visiting teams as well.
For those that may not follow minor league baseball as closely as they do their favorite major league baseball team, the one thing that was amazing to me with this Barons team last season, and it's any team that wins a league championship, is the turnover on the roster. Now, sometimes those teams don't have a lot of movement, but with the fact that the parent club has been struggling the last couple years, and the Barons have had a lot of really good talent, and it's just the process of their maturation process in their major league career where they're going to go to AAA or they're going to get an opportunity quicker at the parent club. And just kind of describe how difficult it is for you to be able to withstand that roster consistency and to be able to win a Southern League championship.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in both ways over the years where, our major league partner, the White Sox, they've pretty put prospects at a speedier process to get to the big leagues, and some that have been very patient. And I think that what you're seeing now is more of a patient process and overall philosophy for the White Sox, which is needed because you don't want to rush. How many times have you seen such prospects rush, get to the big leagues, and not have the success that in long term either? But I think that what they're doing right now, they're being very patient. They know that 2025 is not going to be a season that despite the fact they've gotten out of the gate pretty good at the major league level,
right?
That they're not going to compete, and they're not, for the postseason, all that kind of stuff. So it's long term. So I would think in the next 2 to maybe 3 years, the White Sox should be a legitimate player for postseason at the big league level. But at this point, when we have great players, in the past, there's always been a stop clock on it because you're a victim of your own success.
Right.
If they're going to have success at this level, then obviously they're naturally going to progress to AAA and ultimately to the big leagues. But ultimately, I think that with the White Sox, they're going to be more patient like they were last year and not rush these guys en route to Chicago.
So the big topic across all of baseball, I'm sure you know, is the torpedo bats. Is that something? Is that something that any of the Barons that you're aware of are going to be using? But also just kind of your overall thoughts on what that means for the game. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think they need to be banned?
Yeah, I'm not as in tune with the ins and the outs of that. I know our former manager from a couple years ago, Lorenzo Bundy, texted me yesterday about us having torpedo bats too. And I know your team, the Yankees, obviously, they're all on the shelf in Yankee Stadium.
Well, that money we saved from Juan Soto, we went to MIT and got the engineer.
Yeah, I don't know if any of our players have those. I would imagine that's more of a specialty type thing that sort of caught some fire just because of the Yankee success this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking about an interview I saw with the CEO of Marucci Bats out of Baton Rouge, and talking about how these things have been developed like 2022 was when they first came on, and they've kind of piecemealed it, but the Yankees were the first ones that basically said, hey, give us a big old shipment of these. We got to try some things. And so, Major League Baseball puts their stamp on it. Better than anybody, it takes a lot from MLB to okay something.
Yes.
And if something gets okayed to that point, that's why I see, and listen, everyone knows I'm not a Yankees fan, but I'm in 100% in agreement with them and anybody else that wants to use them, because if the commissioner's office says it's good to go, then it's good to go.
If it's approved, yeah, then there should be no issues at all. And it reminds me so much. I can't help but to think back about the movie The Natural and Wonder Boy and going in and weighing the bat and them questioning the validity of what that bat was, even though that's a movie. When it comes to equipment, obviously there's so many types of sophisticated equipment in baseball and all the sports that continue to be enhanced every year. So this is just one of those.
So with Media Day today, what are y'all looking for, just kind of giving people an opportunity to celebrate the start of the season? I know opening day is still a couple of days away for you guys, but what are y'all looking to get out of this today with having all these media people? Not just Pat and I know we like to feel special in that y'all just hosted us up here, but there will be other people here today as well.
Well, we appreciate y'all being here. And, this is sort of the rite of, passage for us as we open the season. The team showed up Monday evening at the international airport, and next thing you know, we'll go through some workouts along the way, and this is, introduce the team to the media here. And it's always fun because I think there's always a variety of different angles, whether it be folks that have established relationships that are returning, that have been here 1-2 years, or whether it be new guys like Hagen Smith that certainly have more of a, connection with the Southeastern Conference fan base as well. So I think more than anything, we're looking to introduce our team, and it's an exciting team, and I'm really just looking forward to seeing what our fans' reaction will be once we open the season on Friday night.
All right, let's talk a little MLB. Your thoughts on the White Sox? You kind of given us a little bit of preview. They've gotten out of the gate nicely. As you just mentioned, you do not believe that is just kind of like my Cardinals. You kind of enjoy and take the snapshots of them being in the top of the league, and then all of a sudden, kind of reality sets in about around the All-Star break. But just your thoughts on the MLB races so far. What have you seen?
It's so early, but it's so much fun, and it's so great. I mean, obviously, this is, to me, the best time of the sports year. It's debatable. I mean, obviously, with the ending of the NCAA March Madness and then baseball season kicking off, the long journey of what that is. For us, it's the same way. And, with Major League Baseball, with the White Sox at least, there's no expectations. I mean, obviously, on the heels of a historically bad season, they're going to be so patient. Some of the big prospects they got, especially from the Garrett Crochet deal on the White Sox, from the Red Sox, Teal, the catcher. They have two top prospects they've acquired in the last couple years. Edgar Quiro, who was with us the previous 2 years, and obviously great. He came from the Angels organization, and then Teal from the Red Sox organization. They're in AAA right now. So it's for us, it's exciting to see whether it be a Barron excel and continue to their progress in AAA in Charlotte or ultimately in the big leagues. I mean, Brooks Baldwin, who was with us most of the season last year, had a couple RBIs last year. He's starting for the White Sox in a variety of different positions. So it's really fun to see a lot of our guys make it to the big league level. When it comes to sort of the Braves getting out of the gate, it's so early and you got to be patient. I think one of the most established sayings in baseball, and you tell this to the staff all the time, that a baseball season, because of the daily grind, the length of the season, that it's not a sprint, that it's a marathon. And
I tell Landrum that every day. He lives and die every single day on what happens to the Braves. I'm like going, dude, you know this. It's 162. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. But he admitted this morning at 5:30, about to get on a plane, that he's officially panicked now.
Yeah, he's on the ledge, I'm sure.
Yes.
And he needs to get off the ledge. It's a long way, but at the same time, you never want to start out of the gate, such in a hole as the Braves are. Yet at the same time, I mean, they have a good team, and I think that they're certainly gonna. They'll rebound. Just how much can they? I know that the deeper you go down there, it's more troubling.
All right, before we let you go, Rickwood Classic.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and appreciate you being a part of it as well.
Yep.
I know we're supposed to speak with our special guest, Jim Cott, Hall of Famer, who obviously played with several teams, your Cardinals and your Yankees.
You want
a
fun fact on Jim Cott? Fact on
What's
Jim
that?
Cott? He's the oldest pitcher to ever pitch in a Cardinal uniform.
Really?
How about that?
Oh, my gosh.
He was 43 years old.
In 82?
43. No, he finished up. He finished a couple more years after the 82 World Series championship with the Cardinals. He was 43 years old when he hung it up.
What's so exciting for us is to be able to go back there June 4th, a Wednesday, 12:30, gates open 11 o'clock, and it's hard to believe there's only one person on our staff that's worked a Rickwood Classic. Last year really was not a Rickwood Classic because that was a major league, back game. But for us to be able to turn back the clock, it means so much to so many different generations to celebrate and honor the legacy of the Negro Leagues. Once again, we're going to be honoring the Black Barons once again. We're going to be playing Rocket City. They're going to be doing their traveling Negro League team, the Huntsville Stars. And then, like mentioned, Jim Cott. And sort of the backstory, what I'm going to tell Cott next week is that years ago, I think it was back 2010, part of the secret sauce for the Rickwood Classic is always to have a special guest. We've had Dale Murphy and Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, Gaylord Perry, all that. But back in 2010, we had his old teammate who was also introduced to us by his other old teammate. Don Mincher was the Southern League president for a number of years and a great guy, an Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, played with the Minnesota Twins and other teams as well. But Harmon Killebrew was our special guest that year, and just a prince of a man. And everything I've heard about Jim Cott, same thing, is that he's just a prince of a man. I'm looking forward to him being here. I know that he appreciates the history of baseball and everything that brings to it, and just fans being able to interact with him, get his autograph, and just really have fun with it.
It's going to be great coming up later this summer. Jonathan Nelson, General Manager of the Birmingham Barons, a regular here on Three Man Front. Thanks for having us. Always great to see you.
Always great. Appreciate
Even though
you guys
ripped the ring out from underneath me.
Well,
maybe
if we repeat back to back, they could be in play. You never know.
Just wait till Landrum gets back. We are live at Regions Field. It's Barons Media Day right here on Jocks 94.5. It is 10:36, Jocks 94.5. We're live at Regions Field. It's Birmingham Barons Media Day. It's going to get going around 12 noon. Any word of the VIP Ryan Hennessy is going to be here? Have you heard from him?
Yes, sadly, he is not going to be here.
He's not going to be here.
He is down on the most beautiful city on the plains right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Destin.
No. He is down in Auburn, so he will not be here, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'll have to make
And
some new friends.
That's totally understable. Well, we don't have a lot of friends.
I know.
So that's why I was
We have to
hoping
make
that
some
Ryan
new ones.
Hennessy, at least one would be here that would be friendly to us. But coming up at 10:45, we will talk to Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. It's always exciting, whether it's minor league or Major League Baseball, when you're around a team and around a franchise, as things get ready to get kicked off, and you look at this Barons team and what they did last year, it's pretty special, and you can tell the excitement in Jonathan's voice.
Yeah, and I mean, especially, he's not shy about it. The reality is the White Sox have not been particularly competitive in a number of years now, and so, well, I know they want that to change. It is beneficial for us here in Birmingham because you get to see a lot of really, really, really talented guys come here through Birmingham and play for the Barons, whether it's, guys that are going to come up and be here for a couple of months and then move up to AAA or the big show, or people that are going to be here all season long. So that is one of the cool things, is getting to watch these guys come through. And I mean, even going back to, my childhood and getting to come and watch people at the Barons games, or being a kid and going to, Nashville Sounds games with my dad and getting to see, I saw Prince Fielder play probably 30 times as a kid at minor league baseball games. And these are the memories that, people like us that love the game of baseball so much, you get those at minor league games, like coming to the Barons, watching these guys, and then 5-6 years down the road, you're like, oh, I remember when I watched him when he was a Birmingham Baron, and now look at what he's doing for the White Sox or another club up in Major League Baseball. So it's special to see, and it's very nice. I know a lot of people have been here to Regions, but even, just us getting to come up here where, some of the suites and the offices and things like that are, and it's just such an incredible venue to be right here.
Oh,
in
the facility is
Birmingham,
top
and,
notch.
yeah, it's easily the best minor league baseball facility I've ever been around, and there's just something about being in the ballpark. It feels good. It feels like home.
A little bit of news from Alabama football. Multiple sources were reporting yesterday afternoon that freshman Marshall Pritchett sustained an injury that will cost him the rest of spring practice. While the exact nature of the injury has been unclear, I've tried to talk to a couple of people to get clarification on that. But they said that Pritchett is expected to recover in the summer, and he will be a full go come fall camp. He's a former four-star prospect. He's the son of former NFL linebacker Wesley Pritchett. Marshall enrolled early as part of the Crimson Tide's number 3 ranked recruiting class. He's 6'5", 235. He's from Georgia. He was the 247 Sports number 17 ranked tight end in the country. He provided an immediate infusion at the position because that's a position, Conrad, that Alabama lost 2 guys that were very, very complimentary to that offense.
Yeah, and then especially in the spring, you tack in Danny Lewis being injured and him not being able to go, and so that was, when I was in Tuscaloosa for the first day of spring ball, that was one of the things that Coach DeBoer hit on was, yeah, we're going to have to, a lot of guys in that tight end room are going to be getting opportunities that they weren't expecting, and quite frankly, the coaching staff wasn't expecting them to probably have this early on, just because, you did have, Oots and Dupree go to the NFL and then the Danny Lewis injury. But, yeah, there was a video that got posted yesterday, and you can see Pritchett in a leg brace, like it's one of those full-body leg braces, and he's got what looks like a wrap on his leg as well. So, it's unfortunate for a young guy that, I think really could have benefited from the reps here in the spring, but hopefully it's a nice and easy recovery and he's back sooner than later. But, yeah, that's a position that's already thin for Alabama. Now you're a little bit thinner.
Yes, there is no question about that. Well, are you ready to elevate your driving experience? Head on out to Trustful. You don't have to drive anywhere else. Just drive to Trustful, to Courtesy GMC in Trustful, because the month of April is a perfect time to get behind the wheel of a brand new GMC, whether it's the GMC Sierra 1500, whether it's the Sierra Denali, whether it's the Yukon XL, the Yukon Denali. You've got SLTs, you've got the Acadia, you've got the Terrain, you've got all of these top-notch GMC vehicles, and the deals, you will not find anything or anywhere that will provide you with the best comfort, the best savings than Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Josh Gargis, Drew Lawley, They're a fantastic team. They just do an incredible job. They try to save you money whatever they can. There's so many people, so many stories that I can tell you about people that listen to this radio show from other markets, and they do the challenge. They go to courtesybirmingham.com. They look at the numbers of what Courtesy can do for you with other GMC dealers. It's not even close. Courtesy GMC, they will take care of you no matter where you are and you hear this spot. Go by and see them. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. They're there to serve you. It's in their name, Courtesy. Courtesy GMC in Trussville, located off of I-459, exit 32 in Trussville. When we come back, Final Four. What does it look like from a Vegas perspective? Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, MajorWager.com. He joins us next on Three Man Front. It is 1046, Jocks 94.5. Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, will join us momentarily. Just got a text from Landrum. He is delayed in Dallas-Fort Worth.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He literally just texted me that. So he is flying from Birmingham to DFW, from DFW to SAT.
Do you know how long he's been delayed?
He didn't say. He said he hopes to be in the air at 11:45. So it's about an hour delay, I guess.
Oh, he's got time to get wings.
Please,
Yeah, no, he'll be just fine.
please do so.
Well, Wallace State has announced the addition of women's flag football to their new athletics lineup, with play expected to kick off this fall for Wallace State. And this Sunday, April the 6th, they're hosting a showcase and tryouts for this fall's team. Scholarships will be available, and any women who are interested in trying out or just learning more about women's flag football can go pre-register right now at wallacestate.edu/flag football showcase. Again, that event is coming up this Sunday from 2 to 5 at the soccer field over at Wallace State Hanceville's campus.
Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline from Vegas Insider, let me say that properly, also MajorWager.com. He's a contributor to Southeastern 16, and he's a regular on Three Man Front. He has got a full bio here that I'm supposed to read each and every Wednesday on this show. Hey, Brian, how are you?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
We are doing fantastic. We are live at Regions Field in downtown Birmingham talking a little baseball today, but we got to talk about what's coming up this weekend, the Final Four. I know you're a big Florida Gators guy, so is that influencing what you're doing in regards to your Vegas monetary situation coming into the Final Four?
Well, my fandom really isn't. What is all my previous bets is I have Florida at 35-1 to win it all. I also, going into, I think it was the Elite Eight. Yeah, I noticed the Saturday morning for the Elite Eight, a couple of my accounts had exacta odds. Meaning like you could pick who makes the final specifically at certain odds, and then who beats whom in the finals. And so I did a couple of those. I did Florida and Duke to make the finals plus 250. I did Florida to beat Duke in the finals plus 590. I did Duke to beat Florida in the finals plus 425. So, and then before the tournament, one of my accounts had Florida plus 180 to make the finals. So I've got all kind of future bets going, and therefore I'm just going to do all those. Now, as you know, someone giving advice on picks, I do like Florida, especially with Broome being injured. Florida beat Auburn 90-81 on the Plains. Auburn was fully healthy that game. Florida was without Elijah Martin, and they were up double digits most of the second half and won 90-81. That was Auburn's only home loss. And now Janai Broome's not healthy, and Elijah Martin is. So I think Florida minus 2.5 is the play, but I'm only playing because I've got all those other bets that I mentioned. I'm only playing Florida's team total to go over 81.5, and I'm doing that because Florida scored at least 84 in 9 of its last 10 games. Now the number's 81.5, but I'll note that Florida scored at least 81 in 31 of their 38 games. They're second in the nation in offensive efficiency at KenPom. They're number 3 in the nation in scoring, 85.4 points per game. And as I said, they scored 90 at Auburn without Elijah Martin. So Florida team total over 81.5.
Okay, so how about on the other side? I know you said you like Florida and Duke to play, but with Duke taking on Houston, we know Duke is a favorite in that one. Do you have a lean for that matchup for anybody that's looking to gamble on Duke and Houston in the Final Four?
Yeah, I like Duke minus the 5. And, if you don't have the exacta like I do, I'm not against a Florida Duke money line parlay. That should have a decent plus odds. But yeah, I like how Duke's playing. Haven't lost since February 8th to Clemson, and I believe all those wins are the North Carolina win was only by 3, but everything else has been, would have covered the 5-point spread rather easily. So, and I just, I love Houston's defense. I love their toughness, rebounding, etc. But I just, at times they struggle to get buckets. And as well as they defend, Duke's going to still get their points. And so, yeah, lean to Duke minus 5.
Okay, so you being a Florida Gators fan, if you get past Auburn, do you like your chances better against Houston or Duke?
Oh, I would love our chances against Houston. Going into the tournament after the SEC tournament, I loved our chances against everybody. But
we saw that on social media. You're pretty
Yeah,
consistent.
we right. Yeah, but I'm not there. I'm not where I was a couple weeks ago. I mean, Florida
Like
is
when you're
not
sending me
playing
nasty
nearly as well.
messages.
Yeah, why would you do that to Conrad? Conrad's a good kid. Why would you send him those messages like that?
Wait a minute. They weren't nasty.
No, they weren't,
Anyway.
Brian. They were. They were in good fun.
I mean, Grant Nelson, poor Grant Nelson is just being picked on by Brian. Every time Conrad turned around, there was
No
another.
way.
There
I was
was,
the one defending Grant Nelson coming in the tournament.
Not in my
I was
DMs.
defending Grant Nelson against my Bama friend.
nah, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. Just a joke. But your confidence level is still high though on the Gators. It's just it would be a more difficult matchup against Duke, basically, right?
Much more difficult against Duke. Oh, and by the way, we have those spreads. Duke is 4.5 to Florida.
Okay.
Florida is 1.5 to Houston. These are from FanDuel. Let's see. I'm just going from my article because I'm kind of forgetting what they were. I think Duke is, I want to say 6.5 to Auburn. Where in the world is it? No, 5.5. Duke is 5.5 to Auburn. And I want to, what was the, okay, I'm looking for it.
Was it
Where-
Florida by like 1 over Houston? Wasn't it kind of almost a
Yeah,
pick 'em?
Florida 1.5 to Houston.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the Auburn Houston one. Oh, here it is. Houston 1.5 to Auburn.
Wait a
total
second. Houston would be
138.
favored over Auburn?
Yep. Yeah, and Auburn has the longest future odds. There you go. Didn't I say before the tournament, Florida should be the number 1 overall seed? Auburn,
Yeah.
the number 1 overall seed, the longest future odds.
That's yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, Brian. So we do have basketball tonight. I know
Molly
some
wants
people,
to know if you got to play on Nebraska.
some-
She's loading up big tonight on the Cornhuskers and the Crown tournament.
Everything I own.
Everything, Molly
Right.
says.
So I really like Nebraska at the opening line, but the line is shot up to 9 and even 9.5 at some spots. So
Wow.
I did and the Boise State line is also going up because I think both of them are going to win comfortably, but I don't know that I want to lay 9 with Nebraska. So a money line parlay with Boise and Nebraska, the price is not that great. I got it yesterday at a better
Was it like
price.
130, 135? What are we talking?
Right, yeah, around there, but it might be more like minus 140 or 145 right
Ooh,
now.
That's
But
rich.
I mean, I still like it. I think Butler's without their leading scorer. That's who Boise's playing. I'm also okay with a Boise minus 4.5 in the first half play. And I would say Nebraska in the first half, but they've been kind of struggling in the first half. I will say this: if you can get a live line, if Nebraska, struggles early like they did the other night and down, I believe they're down 8 at halftime. Any live line or halftime line where you could get Nebraska like minus 4 or 5 or less, I would do that. But pregame, let's go money line parlay with Boise State and Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay, one final one. The NIT, Chattanooga, a surprise team that made it as far as it has in the NIT. I think they're plus 3.5.
Yep, they are to UC Irvine, and Chattanooga has a 10-1 spread record with 9 outright wins, and it's the last 11 as an underdog. They have been an underdog in all these games in the NIT and have won outright in 4 in a row to get to the finals. I like Chattanooga plus 3.5.
Yeah, I will tell you, watching UCI playing UAB in the quarterfinals of the NIT, if there had been like real officials in that basketball game, I mean, I'm talking about this is like an over 50 men's league at the YMCA type referees. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were bad. They were awful. And so hopefully they will have a better pick of NIT officials in Indianapolis. But I'm like you. I like Chattanooga in this big time. Chattanooga's a good basketball team. We saw them in the SoCon, the league that Sanford's in. But I was not impressed at all by California Irvine. So,
Well, I hope you and your listeners did not have, I believe that line was around 3.5, at least in the afternoon, and UAB lost 4 in overtime. So
yeah.
I don't know if the line had moved, though. But anywho, that would have been,
All right.
that was a tough one.
Well, Brian, are you watching it from the beach this weekend, or are you heading to Vegas? What you doing this weekend?
No, I'll be here. I will be here. I don't know exactly my location of where I'll be yet.
Okay.
I don't know that I need to be out at a bar in public.
That's probably a wise move.
I might be too loud.
Yeah, very wise. Well, Brian, good luck this weekend, and look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks, all. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks. That's Brian Edwards joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coming up next, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, will join us next. This is Three Man Front. We're live at Regions Field in downtown Birmingham. Barron's Media Day, right here on Jocks 94.5. It is 11 o'clock. Welcome back in. It's Three Man Front. We're live on location, downtown Birmingham. Regions Field. Pat Smith, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson, Landrum Roberts stuck in the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, trying to get to San Antonio to cover the Final Four for us here on Three Man Front and Jocks 94.5. We'll talk to Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, momentarily, brought to you by Craneworks.
Well, as we know, spring weather in Alabama can be really unpredictable, so that's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. So to find out more, go to Trane.com.
And joining us now, he joins us every Wednesday, thanks to our friends down at Craneworks. It's the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
And Chris Stewart joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Chris, I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. I know you would prefer to be stuck in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport today as opposed to being on this show where you are located. So,
yeah, look, there's no doubt. I hate it that it's over. Fantastic run again, and disappointing that you don't get to go to back-to-back Final Fours. but amazing that you're in a spot where you are actually disappointed going to back-to-back Elite Eight. You consider that prior to last year, it had only happened once in program history, and now there's the feeling that you not gonna say failed, but you didn't achieve what you wanted to, and yet you still got to the Elite Eight for a second straight year. Pretty amazing what Nate Oates has done to put the program in that position.
So, Chris, I want to go back first to the Sweet 16 and the matchup against BYU. And just from your perspective, you're watching Alabama go and put on just an absolute showcase offensively, hitting 25 three-pointers in that basketball game. So coming off of that performance, what you saw in the win over BYU going into the Duke game, what was kind of your mindset? Because I think we all knew you're not going to replicate that against Duke. But at that point, after the performance against BYU, did you feel like, oh, okay, Alabama is maybe the team to beat in the tournament right now because they're playing their best basketball going into this matchup against Duke?
Well, you felt like you had as good a chance as anybody. And that's kind of where it is now that it's down to even 4. But certainly when you were at the Elite Eight, I felt like there were 6 or 7 teams that were all capable of winning the whole thing. Tennessee certainly was in that conversation until they kind of got popped early, just as Alabama did in its game with Duke. But I felt really good going into the game with BYU because Alabama had won twice, advanced to the Sweet 16, and had only made 13 combined threes in 2 ball games. So you're not at your best. You weren't bad, but you weren't at your best from 3. You really weren't even great from 2, but shot it pretty well. And then when you have the phenomenal game such as the one against BYU, yeah, you're excited and you're thrilled, and that's fun, and it was certainly one of the most enjoyable games. I had several people ask me, where's that one? And I said, look, with what was on the line and to perform that way, it was certainly an all-timer. But I couldn't fully enjoy it because thinking that, oh, man, I hope we don't really hit the average now where you go and have a rough shooting night, and unfortunately that was the case. Even the first possession where you had a dunk and Cliff had it pop out, which was one of 2, was kind of a sign of things to come. Yeah, the missed threes hurt you, but Bama was only 9 of 20 at the rim. And that's just not a formula for success against anybody, certainly a team as good as Duke. Now, yeah, they had a reason that they're tough to finish at the rim. They block shots, they challenge shots, they force you to alter shots, and that's always a concern. But I didn't think Alabama was at its best. We know they weren't as good as they could have been or maybe even should have been. Duke can lock you down, but there were opportunities, especially early, and Bama just couldn't cash in enough of them.
Talking to Chris Stewart, brought to you by Craneworks, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, joins us here on Three Man Front. So you get to see Duke up close and personal. Cooper Flagg, he did not have a typical Cooper Flagg game. He was good. Knipple was a problem. You mentioned the bigs down low. Just your thoughts on this Duke team moving forward to the Final Four and their depth and what problems they present with the rest of the field.
Well, it's why they're a team that's been ranked as highly as they have all year and was a favorite going into the tournament and still is. You have an all-star in Cooper Flagg, but it's far from a one-man team. Those guys are all involved. They're all dangerous. They're all active. They have different skill sets, and yet they blend very nicely into an elite team. And, yeah, Flagg wasn't his best offensively, but he was still very much involved. He was still very much a factor. And when you have teammates that are as good as the guys around him, you don't have to be perfect. I think in 3 years he's going to be an elite player. I may be dead wrong, but I think he's got a chance to be an all-star and then some at the next level. The fact that he's only a freshman and he plays as maturely as he does, in addition to being as skilled and talented as he is, I think those are a combination for for making a guy be beyond good to be great. And I think that's ultimately what he's going to be.
So, Chris, unfortunately, with the loss to Duke, it's the end of a great season for Alabama basketball, but it's also the end of the road for a number of players, whether that's guys that are going to move on in the transfer portal in the coming weeks or guys that are graduating and perhaps moving into a different career or trying their luck at the next level. And one of those guys is Mark Sears, as we know. And, you look back
Yeah.
now, Chris, on a two-time All-American. We find out yesterday he's named one of the 5 finalists for the Wooden Award. This year, he got Alabama to back-to-back Elite Eights, the first Final Four in program history. Chris, I think there's a lot of people that will look back on Mark Sears as maybe the best or most impactful player that the program has ever seen. So I just wanted to know, when you look back on Mark Sears and his career and you getting to know him and getting to call his games there in Tuscaloosa, how are you going to look back on Mark Sears and his career at the capstone?
First of all, great person, somebody I really enjoyed being around, spent a lot of time with Mark and his family, terrific people. Thoroughly enjoyed them, first and foremost. The basketball part of it is obvious. To, in only 3 years, put up the numbers that he did offensively, but also as an assist man. And now, granted, what the system they run, it makes it more conducive to score points and to have assist opportunities with the number of possessions and also the fact they made deep runs in the tournament. But that's the thing about it to me. He put up great individual numbers, but it was while he was part of a historically great stretch. I mean, you think of his first year, number 1 national seed going into the NCAA tournament, regular season and tournament champions in the SEC. Then a Final Four the next year and an Elite Eight the next. So 2 Elite Eights, a Final Four, regular season and tournament championship, all that he was a part of, and then finishes, second, third all-time in scoring in Bama history. Special talent, I'm not going to say generational, because the thing is, if you put him exclusively, make no mistake, he made each of those 3 Alabama teams infinitely better, and he was clearly the leader the last 2 years. But he was not a guy who was going to be able to just take everything on his own. There were certain guys that have been talented enough that they could completely take over the game. He did, but it was more so from a shooting standpoint. He could just go off from deep. He also kind of willed his way to a number of baskets at the rim as well. Have there been more explosive players in the game? Certainly. Alabama's had some guys that were dynamic. But when you talk about combination of winning and doing things on an individual basis, he's got no peer. He's got no rival. And again, it's a different world because of the college game. It seems like he's been there forever, and yet it's only 3 seasons. The guy didn't even start his career off in Tuscaloosa. So, again, how we perceive things in the moment looks differently, but historically, I think the conversation will be different as well.
Talking to Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks here on Three Man Front. So we heard Nate Oates after the game, after the loss to Duke. He was talking about the last 3 years, some of the best 3 years in the history of Alabama basketball. You have had a front row center with this transformation since Nate Oates came in. Just kind of reflect on that, because it is disappointment in regards to not being able to get back to the Final Four with this type of roster, but it's very difficult, no matter what kind of roster you have, to traverse the muddy waters that is the NCAA tournament and get to a Final Four. But just talk about what Nate Oates has done with this program, making this now a modernistic blue blood in regards to this program.
Yeah, I mean, they had the shirts that said new blood versus blue blood when they would play some of the traditional powers, and new blood won more often than not. Unfortunately, it was a blue blood that ended the season. But I go back to a year ago this week. You've lost to UConn in the national semifinals, and before we got on the plane to head back to Tuscaloosa the next day with the travel party, and there's breakfast in the team hotel, and see Nate and just told him, I said, man, I know you're disappointed, but what a season, what an accomplishment. And he was gracious. He goes, I really appreciate it. He goes, we're going to get back here, and it's going to be soon. And they were 40 minutes away from that. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done against Duke. They pulled away in the second half and ended that dream of back-to-back Final Fours. But it's so dadgum tough to get there. And I'll tell you, to go from longtime high school coach to college assistant, and 2 years later you're a D1 head coach, and then a couple of 3-4 years, whatever it was after that, now you're in the SEC. He's not from here. He hadn't been around, but he'd won. That's all he'd done was win wherever he happened to be, and took things on head on. And I'll tell you, there's a commonality that I see with him and Nick Saban, in that those guys learn from everybody all that they can whenever they can. Not afraid of challenges, always wanting to build, detail-oriented, and constantly working. And that's who Nate is. Now, the personalities are a little different. Sports are different. Approaches can be different. But the same intensity, the same drive, the same determination. And the other part of that is the ability to change a tire while the car is still moving. I was thinking about it as I saw this, thought about the roster and also everybody that's around. This is a guy who was a part of a faculty that was probably not as large as the staff that he has now.
Yeah.
And to go from that about 12, 15 years ago, whatever it was, to being basically the CEO of one of the best college basketball programs in America is phenomenal. And you're also thinking about the changing landscape of coming in and taking the program. Now there's NIL, and he's just continued to win and figure it out. That's where I guess being the math teacher has paid off, because, man, he's figuring stuff out. And amazing, really and truly 5 years, because the COVID year there was no postseason. But you go 4 SEC titles, counting regular season and tournament, a number 1 national seed, a Final Four, and on the doorstep of it a second straight year. It's unreal, but I don't think the guy's through and won't be anytime soon.
Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, joining us for a few more moments here on Three Man Front on the Higginbotham Hotline. All right, Chris, so looking ahead, and I know, it's incredibly difficult now more than ever with the transfer portal, and will these guys go, will they not go? Some guys probably going to test the NBA draft waters as well, but just looking ahead to this fall, I know we just put the season behind us, but how different are you expecting things to look this upcoming basketball season? Because there's going to be no Mark Sears, there's going to be no Grant Nelson. What kind of a decision does a guy like a Phylon make? But you could be getting some familiar faces back potentially with a Latrell Wrightsell coming back from injury. So how different do you think things are going to look this fall when we're talking about Alabama basketball once again?
Personnel-wise, very different. Production-wise, I'm not going to be shocked if we're back in the same spot next year. I just think he has now got the program at a position where he's able to reload and not just rebuild, even though there's both involved. Um, I think the blueprint has been laid out. I think he knows and understands fully what needs to be done. Preston Murphy's been incredible on the recruiting trail. The guy went 6 for 6 last year or 2 years ago, I guess it was, with recruits they were looking to sign and guys they actually got. And I don't think that's going to stop. I don't think that's going to change. They've, Noah Williamson, they got a signee yesterday, a guy that in the transfer portal that very similar to what a Grant Nelson can do for you. It's not going to be exactly the same, but there may be spots of his game that are better than Grant's. But it's going to give you an opportunity to still do what you liked doing the last 2 years with Nelson at the 4. Yeah, you're right. You don't know exactly who's coming back, but if you get most of your potential returnees back, and with the fact that Alabama is able to pick not just anybody they want, but pretty close to it, he's able to identify and wrap up guys who are in a position of need, and they're selective on the front end, so you don't have problems on the back end, or as many as you can have. And that's why I think they're going to have a chance to be once again. Won't be shocked at all if they're preseason top 10 next year, even though you're going to lose, so much importance and talent and leadership on that roster.
That is Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Chris, all throughout the football and the basketball season, our good friends at Craneworks brings us an opportunity to catch up with you.
Yep, and I appreciate them very much. They've got a division of Craneworks called Rental Works, and they've got a full line of, as the name would indicate, rental equipment for any machinery needs you may have. They've got operators that can help you with that equipment as well. They give you the equipment plus the manpower to get the job done right. Go online to learn more at craneworks.com. They'll give you a quote, whether you're in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, or Huntsville, or surrounding areas. They've got you covered. Again, that's craneworks.com.
That is Chris Stewart. Chris, we look forward to closing out the basketball season with you next Wednesday. One more time, we always appreciate it, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate you guys, too. Thanks so much.
Thanks. That's Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks. He joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. When we come back, we'll try to track down Landrum Roberts. He is at the DFW airport. Hopefully he's not buying wings. We'll talk to him next on Three Man Front. Welcome back in. It's three-man front on this Wednesday. We're live at Regions Field. It is Birmingham Barons Media Day. It's going to get underway at 12 noon. We've already talked to Jonathan Nelson, the general manager of the Birmingham Barons. We always appreciate our partnership with the Birmingham Barons having us out here. We'll be out here throughout the baseball season, a great partner of Jocks 94.5, and we appreciate everybody. If you've missed any of our interviews so far during this broadcast, I strongly recommend that you download the Three Man Front podcast. It's very easy wherever you get your podcasts. Download the Three Man Front podcast. We've already talked to Jonathan Nelson, the general manager of the Barons. We also checked in with Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider about the Final Four. You just heard Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, just a few moments ago. And coming up at 11:30, Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 will join us. He's been with us each and every week during the college basketball season, kind of laying out the Southeastern Conference and what's going on inside the league. Later on, Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He's going to be heading to San Antonio a little bit later tonight as he'll be covering the Auburn Tigers. Our own Landrum Roberts is on an airplane right now. I've been told he is boarding the plane in Dallas.
I really hope we don't have a worse thing I've seen for tomorrow involving Landrum in the plane.
He was already heading. He was supposed to be, I think, touching down in San Antonio right about this time.
Yep.
But he got to DFW. As many of our listeners have experienced, whether you're going through Atlanta or you're going through Dallas, those are very busy airports, and sometimes things happen. You get delayed. And that's exactly what's going on with Landrum Roberts. So we're hoping that we can at least chat with him momentarily.
We need to know where he ate. Where to get lunch.
Yeah. Because he had to eat, right?
Yeah, and I've been doing some research, and there's
some wing places near
wing
his
options.
gate?
Yes.
Let's see. He
there
sent
are
me. Let's see.
Oh, do you have his actual gate number?
I think I do. Let me look. Yes, C39.
Oh, well, okay. Well, C37. He can go to the Dirk Nowitzki Sports Bar.
Okay, well, let's go.
I guess he owns there.
All right, and Landrum Roberts joins us live. I guess he's on his Boeing 747 getting ready. He's on American Airlines Flight 413 if you want to track his flight. Landrum Roberts joins us now. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, do you need my seat assignment too?
Yes, just in case.
Throw that out there.
Yeah, what is it?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. A little bit of delay, but we had weather here, so I would rather side on or be on the side of caution than have some daredevil pilots that wanted to go through a severe thunderstorm. So it looks like we're ready to go as I'm sitting on the plane, just boarded, and ready for churros and skillet beans, baby.
Okay, well, so here's the important question that we've been talking about all morning. Really, for the last hour and a half, it's dominated our conversation. So your gate, which Pat revealed to me.
Yeah, C39.
So you were sandwiched between Dirk Nowitzki Sports Bar and Chili's. Where did you get wings from while you were waiting on your layover?
There are no wings.
What?
There are no wings. No, I don't do wings at
baby.
airports anymore. I know.
You're such
Dayton
a baby.
Just ruined it for everybody else. Yeah, that Dayton flight, that was rough. And that was actually coming back from the Final Four. So maybe on the way home, I
there
would
you
have
go.
wings and ruin everybody's day.
Well, first off, Dorothy will be traveling with you back, and I know Dorothy is smart enough to know that she's not going to allow you to partake in wings on the way back to Birmingham. So this was your only opportunity.
No,
you're
we're not on
not?
the same flight. No, we couldn't do it. I've been a little bit surprised. I saw an Auburn fan in Shuttlesworth this morning, and I had the really early flight. I saw one Florida fan, but other than that, I've been a little bit surprised. I guess I could go up and ask people. Maybe they're not wearing their gear.
So Don and PG were at the airport?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Don and
you said
PG
one
weren't
Auburn
there.
and one Florida fan.
I want to say this as respectfully as possible. No, it was pretty clear it was not Don or PG. So
okay.
All
right.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. I know that you've been busy, but you just need to go check out the social media and see what Jonathan Nelson did as a really cruel joke to me and you. It's very cruel what he did.
It better not have to do with a championship ring. I can tell you that.
You might be on the right track there, my friend.
Yeah, just watch the video. It's I mean, lost a lot of respect for Jonathan. Jonathan and I go way back, and I
know
for him to do that to me, showing me a championship ring. Yeah. Very disappointing.
So I might be a little bit delirious because I didn't get much sleep. We had bowling night last night.
The Braves lost last night, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks, Pat.
Okay.
But
Just wanna
no,
make sure.
So I might be a little bit delirious. I was convinced that Bill Raftery was on our flight, and then as I got closer, it was not Bill Raftery. If Bill Raftery was shorter, and if there was a hybrid of our late President Jimmy Carter and Bill Raftery, then we have the guy that would have been their child, and he's actually sitting in first
So
class.
for a brief moment, you believe that Bill Raftery was flying through Birmingham on American Airlines to the Final Four?
I did.
Wow.
Well, Landrum does have a track
did.
record of running into celebrities on airplanes.
Yeah,
He does. He does.
I've not mistaken anyone for Grant Hill yet, so that's a good thing.
So, what time are you supposed to land now in San Antonio?
They're saying 12:50.
Okay.
So hopefully that happens. I had to cancel my little lunch reservation, that two top there by the river.
I thought you had a massage scheduled this afternoon. That Deshaun Watson had given you a name of a massage therapist he knew in San Antonio when he was in Houston.
I was looking at things to do around the hotel, and there are a lot of haunted tours. What's going on there? Like a ton of haunted tours around
San Antonio is a very old town, Landrum. I mean, it was like founded in the 1600s. I mean, it's a lot of things have happened there. The Texas Civil War,
bus tour. There's
Spanish-American
a
War.
pub crawl.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. That could be fun.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Okay,
but no,
well,
we're going to get to the hotel. We're going to scout everything out, and then hopefully I can bring you a live report, either the show or via social media from the Riverwalk.
That will be fantastic. Well, listen, I know you need to turn your phone off and get in the air, so we appreciate you joining us here on Three Man Front. You joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline, so we appreciate that.
You know what? Forget that. I waited on them. They can wait on me. I'm doing live radio here, people.
Well,
I'm
first
kidding.
off, we got to go. We don't have enough time for you. I got to go. We
right.
got things to do.
All right. See you guys.
Be safe.
Bye, buddy.
Bye. Hang up. That is Landrum Roberts joining us from DFW. If you would like to track his flight, he's on American Airlines 413, flying from Dallas to San Antonio, Texas, departing gate C39.
That's awesome. Someone's mad. They're texting in. Apparently, I said Dirk Nowitzki wrong.
It's Nowitzki.
Nowitzki, sorry. I apologize. I will do better.
Perfect. All right, coming up next, Blake Lovell's going to join us from Southeastern 16 as we'll get his thoughts on the Final Four. That's next. We're live at the Birmingham Barons Media Day on Jocks 94.5. It is 11:35, Jocks 94.5. We got the Final Four coming up from San Antonio, Texas. Landrum Roberts will be touching down in San Antonio in about an hour from now. We will have extensive coverage tomorrow and Friday from the Alamo City as the Final Four. Two SEC teams are in action this week, and unfortunately, both of those two SEC teams are playing each other. And joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 joins us. Man, what kind of luck is that, Blake, where you get two teams in the Final Four, and unfortunately they're playing in the semifinals against each other as opposed in the championship game?
I know it's a historic year, and you're like, well, we should have known this was coming when there were so many different possible pairings you could have. Of course, Tennessee, Kentucky played each other. Florida and Arkansas probably should have played each other in the Elite Eight. Ole Miss had their chance to play Auburn. It was just kind of one of those where you figured you'd have some of these, and yeah, what do you know? It happens to be these two teams on the same side of the bracket. But yeah, at least that guarantees that one SEC team will play for the national championship for the first time since 2014. So not the worst thing, but yeah, you'd like to see them maybe on opposite sides.
Yeah, but at least we're guaranteed to get one team in the national championship, so that's certainly the good side of it, Blake. But so before we get into how you see this game going down, the rematch between Auburn and Florida, I did want to ask you from the start of the NCAA tournament, when we know they're both going to be one seeds, Auburn's the number one overall seed, but they had lost 3 of their last 4 coming in. Florida looked like the best team in the country. They looked unbeatable. How has, if at all, your opinion changed of Auburn and Florida from the beginning of the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday up until now, a couple days away from that Final Four matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the argument I've been making this week and talking about this game is that I think you can absolutely argue that Auburn's playing better than Florida right now. And I think that, again, is a little bit of a change from what we may have expected coming into the tournament. And the reason I say that is because, look, it's the NCAA tournament. It's survive and advance. You need things to go your way to be able to keep moving on in this tournament. And if you really think about it, I mean, Florida, it felt like perhaps multiple times against UConn, felt like they were kind of in a tricky spot. They missed 12 free throws in that game and just managed to win by 2, right? They hang on, they survive, they advance. I mean, against Texas Tech, I mean, Florida's got a 6 or 7% win probability or whatever that number was with like 3.5 minutes to go. And you just get one of those 6 or 7 out of 100 scenarios that plays out, and they just happen to win and move on. And so I think, again, you have to get a little lucky sometimes. And certainly Florida helped the ball bounce their way a little bit. And again, they're here for a reason. Will that reset sort of help them get back to what we saw against like a Maryland maybe in the second half? Possibly. Just having that reset from last weekend to this weekend may be the thing that sort of plays out that way. But then I look at Auburn and, I mean, I just think that they have kind of found their groove again. And really, to me, what it all is going to come down to is, all right, the health of the Broom and just kind of the injury status and all that. But I think overall, I'm not as convinced of people thinking that, all right, Florida's just playing so much better than Auburn right now, because I don't think that's true.
Talking to Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16, joins us here on Three-Man Front. Okay, so whoever gets out of that semifinal game, more than likely, I think it's pretty safe to say we all think it's going to be Duke, unless you're going to break a news story here thinking that Duke is going to Houston's going to pull the upset. Which SEC team would match up better in a national championship game against Duke, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that still Florida overall right now just feels like they are the team that, just from a pure guard type standpoint, that kind of thing. I look at what Walter Clayton can do, and I think if you're going to find a way to beat Duke, which I will say that's another one where I just feel like this is, and look, favorites have won 14 straight games in the tournament. I don't remember the last time that's happened. And so if you play that, then obviously you're going to get to Duke versus Florida. But I'm not as convinced on either of these games as I was maybe even last Saturday, because I do think there is a scenario where it could be the opposite. And I think from just the perspective of playing against Duke, you know what you're running into. It's not just a team that's going to do it the way Alabama does. They're not going to run up and down the floor and all that. They can beat you in the half court. They're going to run their style of play, but they just have so much talent, NBA top level talent, that they are going to find a way to probably beat you on most of those possessions, whether it's getting out in transition or simply just running a couple things in the half court and scoring that way. And so I think for Florida, because they have the ability, what it feels like just maybe that one extra guy of having Micah Henlogden back and how that affects them defensively. They have all these guys they can rotate in the front court, but the back court still, like if you're going to beat Duke, you got to have, I think, just what Walter Clayton can do at any time, right? Like what Will Richard and Elijah Martin and all those guys can do. And I just think we've seen this Florida team as a whole feel like that they probably stack up better in that scenario. But at the same time, again, I'm not as convinced this Duke Houston thing is what I think it is. I picked Duke to win the whole thing, but I think Houston does a lot of things really well that frustrate Duke, and we've kind of seen that with Clemson and such this season. So I wouldn't put anything off the table.
Blake Level of Southeastern 16 joining us here on the Higginbotham Hotline on Three Man Front. Okay, Blake, so for the Auburn perspective, how concerned are you about Johni Broome, the injury that we saw against Michigan State? We know he's been banged up all season long, but how much is that injury, potentially factoring into how you see this game playing out with Florida on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's huge, and I know Bruce Pearl has said he didn't practice yesterday, wasn't going to practice today. I think it was the wording he used, and so that's not a surprise. You're going to let him rest and all that. But, I mean, again, it's the opponent, and, Florida just has so many guys they can throw at you in the front court that if you have a Broome who is not completely good to go and has some of those moments in the game, right, like that can be – if Florida can go on a 10-0 run, we can look at the Texas Tech game. Like they can just completely turn it on at any time. And that's where, let's say he's not plays even 4 or 5 fewer minutes than he usually does, something like that. What can Florida do in that 4 or 5 minute stretch? They're as good as anybody, like I said, when it comes to just having those sort of streaky type runs. And that's where, what has Auburn struggled with this season? Fouling. And I still think you look at it from that standpoint and say, all right, this is a team that can't afford to get in a lot of foul trouble here, because if you do get one of these big guys in foul trouble, and let's say it's not Broome, then again, that puts a little bit more pressure on him to keep playing through, and the minutes and all this starts to put. And so I think it's one where it obviously has to be a concern. Am I concerned if he's going to play or not? No. But I think it's just a matter of knowing the opponent and knowing, again, some of the things that Florida does well. And, if you're Auburn, it's all hands on deck here. You need everybody to win this game, I think. And so that's just another little storyline you have to throw in, though, when you're considering maybe how it plays out.
Okay, Blake, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10, absolutely your jaw hit the floor, how shocked were you that Buzz Williams took the Maryland job?
Can I take the 0 on that one instead of the 1 to 10? Because this was a very bad secret that was just – I mean, look, everyone sort of expected this to happen. I think that this was kind of something we knew was sort of going to be in motion for – I don't know. I mean, again, it all runs together at this point, but it seemed like this was happening, and to the point to where we were already like on the back end of things being like, all right, let's start looking at Texas A&M. Who's going to take this job? Who are some candidates? Let's put them on a list and start reaching out to people who would know things. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way I expected it to go. It's interesting because Buzz has never really stayed anywhere for that long. I mean, 5, 6 seasons, something like that. So I'm not surprised. I think for him, maybe getting back somewhere else to where Maryland is, you're the better chance to be the it thing at Maryland versus Texas A&M, where you're never going to really be the it thing in basketball. Football is still going to reign supreme there, and we've talked about that before with some of these other jobs. But I just think, at a certain point, they didn't really achieve the level of success they wanted to there. I mean, they never made it to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament in 6 years. And so I think maybe it's best for both parties if Buzz goes up there now to Maryland, and look, he's got immediate pressure on him because he's taking over a team that just did get to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. And so he's got to come in right away and do something he didn't do at Texas A&M. So that puts a little more pressure on him, but it also puts pressure on A&M now because you got to get this right. You just see the landscape in the SEC at this point, and you've got to go out and make sure that you absolutely get this, right, because Sean Miller just got hired at Texas. I mean, go outside the conference and within the state. I mean, look at what Grant McCasland just did at Texas Tech and continues to do there. So I think you've got to make sure that you're willing to put the money into this. And we've all seen the Chris Beard. He would be the name that I'd put at the top. That's what we talked about yesterday as soon as it happened on our show. I said to me, Chris Beard, Chris Jans are two that make a lot of sense for Texas A&M at the top of your list. Beyond that, you never know in these coaching searches, right? whether it's, connecting the dots with former guys who have kind of had some sort of connection to the program, like a Steve Forbes or something like that, Wake Forest, and again, other former SEC coaches out there. You just never know, right? So I think it's kind of a fascinating situation to see where A&M goes next.
All right, Blake, bouncing back to the Final Four we have coming up this weekend here quickly. So you said you have Duke winning it all in your bracket, so I'm assuming you're still sticking with that. You like Duke over Houston in the Final Four, but for Auburn and Florida, right now, if you're having to make a prediction, which SEC team is representing our conference in the national championship game on Monday?
Yeah, I was one of those people that decided, I don't even remember if I've ever done it before, but I did take all the 1 seeds this year before the tournament started. I felt like they had separated themselves. And so at this point, I had Duke versus Florida in the national championship just because, at the time before we started the tournament, hey, Florida was really hard to pick against. And I'll hold to that for now. I think that, again, there's not a lot that's giving me reason to change that, especially from Duke's standpoint, even though, again, I can make a couple arguments as to why Houston could actually beat them, because I do think Houston plays the kind of style that could give Duke problems. But, overall, I mean, again, is there that much separation in my mind from where I was on Auburn or Florida when this tournament started? Not really, outside of the fact that Florida had a couple more close calls than maybe I would have expected. But you just don't know game to game if that's going to be what holds true, right? Because we saw the reset for Florida after the UConn game, came out, struggled a little bit early against Maryland, but when they really turned it on, wind up winning that game by 15 plus. I don't think that's going to be the case here. But I just think if I had complete certainty that Broome was going to be, 100% or as close as 100% as you could get, I feel a little bit better about picking Auburn. But I think right now I probably can use the out of just being like, hey, there's a little more uncertainty with Florida. You kind of know what you're getting. And so I may pick the Gators in that one.
That is Blake Lovell. Does an outstanding job covering the Southeastern Conference all over, whether it's basketball or football. You can catch his YouTube instant analysis at the Final Four. Always appreciate your time. It should be a good one this weekend in San Antonio, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. That's Blake Lovell joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We'll kind of break down what Blake told us, his thoughts on the Final Four. This is Jocks 94.5. We appreciate Blake Lovell joining us, Southeastern 16. You can follow his work there on YouTube. Appreciate him joining us all throughout the basketball season. Coming up later in the program, we'll talk to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He'll be heading to San Antonio later tonight for Auburn Undercover. We'll get his thoughts on the injury of Janai Broome. Is it serious? He's not supposed to practice again until maybe Thursday. We'll get his thoughts on Auburn's run to the Final Four.
Well, did you know that diamonds are April's birthstone? So that means it's the perfect time to shine. Whether you're getting engaged or celebrating an anniversary or even shopping for Mother's Day, Diamonds Direct has great options, great value, plus they offer custom designs all at incredible prices. You can also get free cleanings and lifetime upgrades as well. So like I said, April is Diamond Month and Diamonds Direct is the move. So go, tell them I sent you, and shop today to find something perfect.
So Blake Lovell was just telling us that it's been kind of a worst-kept secret in the Southeastern Conference about Buzz Williams potentially getting out of there at Texas A&M. Granted, we don't cover Texas A&M on a daily basis, and I had not heard that, Conrad, throughout the basketball season, that there was an issue or a rub the wrong way in regards to Buzz Williams and Texas A&M. Well, I was reading TexAgs.com last night, and Olin Buchanan, who's one of the founding members of TexAgs, he's a partner with Billy Lucci, he wrote this. He said earlier this summer there was an event, and somebody in the audience had asked him a benign question about interacting with fans. And Williams went on a diatribe about his reluctance to interact with Texas A&M basketball fans. That was a surprising take since Texas A&M's basketball coach wanted more fan support at Reed Arena.
Huh. Funny.
So you want more people in the building, but, he kind of goes on a diatribe.
You don't want to shake the hands and kiss the baby.
Yeah, about his reluctance. Yeah. So this is what Olin Buchanan wrote. He said, I'm paraphrasing here, but Williams said he did not go often to restaurants because he may be approached by someone wanting to talk basketball. He didn't attend church for the same reason. He revealed he returned to church at the behest of his son, but always sat in the back so he could get out quickly.
So you're getting paid $4.7 million to be the head coach of a basketball program, and you don't want to go out in public because, heaven forbid, someone wants to ask you a question about your job.
Do you not work for
You're a
that
public figure.
You not only are you working for the university, but you're working for the people that you are begging to come to Reed Arena to support your basketball program.
Yes, 100%. It would be like being a salesperson refusing to sell your product.
It's just it makes
so I don't want
no
to have to interact
sense
with people.
Now he went 120-73 at Texas A&M, and again, folks aren't very surprised around the program about this happening in regards to him heading to Maryland. He doesn't stay very long, about 5 to 6 years tops, whether it was Marquette.
Took Marquette to an Elite Eight, dipped. Took Virginia Tech to a Sweet 16, dipped.
Went to A&M.
Now he's dipping.
Yep. And considering the fact that he was getting over $4.5 million at Texas A&M, his predecessor, Billy Kennedy, he was fired despite getting his Aggies twice to the Sweet 16. And you remember Buzz Williams a couple years ago wrote that ridiculous manifesto.
Yes.
Trying to get his team in the NCAA basketball tournament when they went on that little magical run at the SEC tournament. So who is Texas A&M turning to? The hot name last night was Chris Beard. I have been told that is legitimate.
That'd be a great hire.
Not sure if Chris Beard is showing the reciprocal that Texas A&M is showing towards him.
Have you been asked to open the pocketbook yet?
I have not.
Not yet.
Chris Jans is another name of interest at Texas A&M. So the Ole Miss opening, if it does come open, and Chris Beard leaves for Texas A&M, it'll be interesting to see where Ole Miss would then turn.
And, Blake also mentioned the Texas Tech head coach who just took his team to
McCaslin,
an Elite Eight and has done a great job there as well. So it'll be interesting.
Sure will be. Third hour straight ahead. We're live. Birmingham Barons Media Day, Regions Field. Join us for the next 2 hours here on Jocks 94.5. It is 12 noon. Welcome back in. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. We're live at Regions Field, downtown Birmingham. This is a very special day. This is Birmingham Barons Media Day. We've seen a bunch of the players
smell the barbecue.
Yep, smell the barbecue, and the players come. Matter of fact, take the camera. And for those watching on YouTube, you get an opportunity, a little sneak peek of the, there you go, of the Birmingham Barons. That's down there waiting for the rest of the media to be shuttled in as we have Media Day here at Regions Field. We've already talked to Jonathan Nelson, general manager of the Birmingham Barons. We talked to Brian Edwards, Vegas insider. Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, kind of put a bow on the Alabama season after the loss to Duke in the Elite Eight. Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 gave us his thoughts on the Final Four coming up between, obviously, Florida and Auburn. A little bit later in the program, Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He'll be joining Landrum Roberts down in San Antonio, Texas, with coverage there for Auburn Undercover. Some headlines at this hour. The Braves lose again last night 3-1 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bryce Elder and Blake Snell. That will wrap up the Atlanta Braves opening road trip of the season. That is a 6:20 pregame. You can hear Barrett Salee, one of the voices of the Braves radio network. He will have the pregame coverage at 6:20 here on Jocks 94.5. Mookie Betts goes yard last night, puts the Dodgers on top. They end up winning the game 3-1. Braves continue to struggle with runners in scoring position. They're now 1 for 34. That's .029. They've only scored 2 runs in the last 40 innings. The last time the Braves started this poorly to start the season was back in 2016. They started off 0-9. That year, Atlanta only won 5 games in the month of April. They fired Freddie Gonzalez 37 games into the season. They replaced him with Brian Snitker. The 2016 team finished dead last in the National League East, 68-93, 26 and a half games out of first place. More bad news for the Braves. Ronaldo Lopez, he will have surgery on his shoulder, and it appears that it will be an extended absence, according to Brian Snitker. They won't know the severity of the injury until they go in and perform the surgery. So the news just keeps piling up like cordwood in regards to what's going on with the Atlanta Braves. Meanwhile, the Auburn Tigers, Bruce Pearl went on Pardon My Take yesterday. He was talking about Janai Broome. He says, all I can tell you that he's not going to practice for a couple days. He needs to rest and recover. All year long, he's bounced back from injuries, his shoulder and ankle. I have no doubt that he'll bounce back from this, but we probably won't move him much until Thursday. Point spread still 2.5-point underdog Auburn to the Florida Gators in the national semifinal. Speaking of injuries, Conrad, Alabama football, all indications are they experienced an injury yesterday to a star tight end who will probably be out the rest of the spring.
Yes, and that would be Mitchell Pritchett, who's a former 4-star tight end recruit there for Alabama. And as we talked about earlier on in the show, you have a situation now where Robbie Oots and C.J. Dupree both going off, and they will be eligible for the NFL draft coming up later this month. You have Danny Lewis, who is kind of going to be that next guy up at the tight end position, who he's been banged up, he's injured, so he's being held out of spring ball now, and you pair that up with what you're getting with Pritchett now, and so one of the thinnest, probably the thinnest position for Alabama going into camp now continues to get even more thin. But you do also have Cuevas there, who had done some nice things for them last year after coming over from Washington in the transfer portal. So when the season comes around, you would think that that depth is going to look a little better at the tight end spot. But right now, early on in spring practice, a lot of guys getting a lot of reps that they probably weren't expecting to, just because, I mean, you're now, 4 down on the depth chart in a lot of this case with these tight ends right now. So something to monitor for sure for Alabama, because we know how important tight ends have been for them historically. But now with a different kind of offense and Ryan Grubb coming in, maybe they can manipulate that a little bit to alleviate some of those injury problems they've had.
So reminder of what's going on the next couple of days here on Three Man Front. So we'll be back in studio tomorrow. Landrum will join us from San Antonio from the Gonzalez Civic Center, where they'll be having fanfare. So he'll be set up there broadcasting back with us here in Birmingham. Then on Friday, he will still be in San Antonio. Molly and myself will be at 18 South at the Edge, located there in Homewood. Hopefully you'll get a chance to come on by and see me and Molly as we're there and visit 18 South. They're the official clothing provider of us here at Three Man Front, and they just provide us with just some incredible gear. And their store in Trussville and Homewood is just outstanding. And so come on by and see us and get an opportunity to browse and experience what we've been seeing for over a year and a half, which is 18 South. And you got one of their great quarter zips on as we speak.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, if you watch our show on YouTube every day, there really isn't a day that goes by, whether it's me, you, Landra, Molly, someone is wearing some sort of 18 South gear, whether it's a hat, a shirt, pullover, like the quarter zip you can see that I'm wearing right now on the YouTube feed. So, yeah, appreciate them. Excited for y'all to be out there on Friday, and they do great work. So, always happy to give them some love.
No doubt about it. We have not had an opportunity because I had so many interviews in the first 2 hours of the show to get to your text or your phone calls. We welcome your calls at 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line, always open, 205-834-9450.
Yes, and to the text line we go, where Doug just texted in about Buzz Williams leaving College Station to go take the Maryland job. Doug says, Texas A&M has had embarrassingly poor hires in multiple sports over the last few years, but there are new opportunities to hire character guys rather than reputation guys. With Texas now joining the conference, this has been especially harsh in comparison. I guess he's talking about Jimbo. You had Schlossnagel, who did a good job, but he got poached by Texas. You know, Mike Elko, I think he had a nice first year, but, jury's still out on him. So, yeah, this is certainly an opportunity, as when we were talking to Blake Lovell about it, right? You kind of have to hit a home run with this hire, and, whether that's Chris Beard, Chris Jans, or somebody outside of the SEC entirely, they're gonna have options. And as we know, Pat, money is not an obstacle in Aggieland.
No, it is not. And speaking of that, Texas A&M, they have now hired in the last 16 months a new head football coach, a new baseball coach, and now a head men's basketball coach within 16 months.
Well, they just want Trev to keep busy,
Pay him his large salary.
That's right. Well, he's the best athletic director in the country, so you got to continue to pay him like that, right?
Hands down.
Not even close.
The best.
Can't imagine losing
and
a guy
Molly
like that.
would echo that sentiment. As she's not answering.
I know. All right, we have Drake on the text line. He chimes in. He says, congratulations to Carmelo Anthony for being selected to the NBA Hall of Fame. Yes, that was announced earlier this morning. Congratulations to Melo on that accomplishment. One of the better players of my lifetime. That is a blank text. Let's see. We have somebody, Jakey, texting. He says, I would love to see the look on the people's faces on the airplane as Landrum is saying, there are no wings. I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
It was funny during it. Well, not really funny, but mean. We were talking during a commercial break of the things that Molly, things that Conrad and I could, when we had him on the air, things that we could like try to set him up to where he would say something that the person in the airplane would misconstrued as maybe a threat.
Yeah, something explosive that he could have said.
Yes, like not a Hail Mary, but what's a long pass in football?
Well, we were thinking, he could have said, did you see that bomb that Matt Olson hit last night? But the Braves aren't hitting anything right now.
Yeah.
So
we were trying to think of something that we could set him up to where he would say and then have maybe the air marshal like take him down and take him out.
He has a return flight. Maybe we can figure something out.
Yeah.
On the return trip. Bama Hater chiming in on the Courtesy GMC text line. He says, the Bama agenda, blah, blah, blah. Chris Stewart failed to mention that Alabama choked again, period. Funny how he added the tire-changing metaphor in there for Conrad. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought he was taking a shot at me there. But he goes on to say...
I texted Chris and told him to do that.
I'm sure you did. He goes on and continues to say, Alabama is not a blue blood in basketball with no national championships, just like baseball. Is Alabama still a blue blood in football 4 years going without a national championship and Nick Saban gone, asking for a friend?
Why don't you answer that, Crimson Conrad?
I just don't even want to entertain that question. Because, it's been a lot longer than 4 years since Notre Dame won a national championship in football. Michigan went a lot longer than 4 years. Ohio State did. I think we all consider them blue bloods, but that's fine. And I know, because you said something along the lines of Alabama being a more modern blue blood in the world of basketball. Because I think if we're looking over the last 5 to 10 years, you could make that argument. You were not saying that Alabama is a blue blood of the sport in, the vein of Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina.
I mean, what did we go over a week ago? We went over the most wins in the SEC schools with the most wins in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And Alabama is, 5, 6, something like that, down the list of total wins in the history of the NCAA tournament from this conference.
And they have the most wins in the SEC over the last 5 or 6 years. They have been statistically the best team out of that conference. So it is what it is. And, I mean, if you think that Alabama choked in the Elite Eight, that's fine. I was certainly disappointed with the outcome. But, I mean, you played Duke, right? It's not like you lost to a 6 seed that was on a Cinderella run. You lost to – kind of ran into a buzzsaw there. Let's see. Somebody asking what's the latest with Alabama spring practice. So we were just talking about the injury to Pritchett. I know some of the players were talking to the media earlier this morning, so maybe we'll get something out of Tuscaloosa later today. But, I mean, everything I've heard, really going back to that scrimmage a couple days ago it's been positive. Ty Simpson's looked really good. Isaiah Horton continuing to get rave reviews. I've heard good things about, some of the guys returning on defense. Tim Keenan on the defensive front, heard good things about him. Secondary looks to be in very good shape as well with a lot of those young guys coming back. So,
Ty Simpson appears to be solid at that number 1 position. Now,
seems that way right now.
Might be more competition coming later, but I think he has pretty much solidified himself as the number 1 guy at Alabama.
Yeah, I would agree with that based on what we are hearing out of there. Somebody chimes in. They asked, did y'all see Tiger Woods' tweet yesterday for April Fool's? Did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah, if you missed it, he made a post about how he was going to play in the Masters with his Achilles and that it wasn't actually as bad of an injury as he thought, and then he told everyone April Fool's. I was like, well, at least he can have a good sense of humor about all of this. Let's see. Johnny texting in. He says, did y'all see that Sam Walters is heading back to Alabama? He was at Michigan this past season. He's a 6'10" guy, can shoot the 3 ball, and he did some good things at Alabama. So I did see an Alabama page reporting that. I don't think that's official yet, though. I know he is in the portal, but I have not seen officially that he is going back to Alabama. I think that was maybe someone just kind of having some fun with that.
Yeah, he averaged 5 points, 1.6 rebounds per game for Michigan.
But he certainly has the size, and that was a guy that this past year, personally, I was hoping would stick around and continue to develop because I think he has a bright future. But
also saw where Trey Donaldson from Michigan. He is back in the transfer portal.
Yes, and I'm sure y'all talked about our good buddy Rylan Griffin yesterday.
Yeah, there was Nick Kelly had a story in AL.com where he threw out the idea that maybe Rylan Griffin would like to come back to Tuscaloosa.
I'm sure he would.
Would you be okay with that?
Depends on what he's looking for because I don't know. I just don't know if I see him as a guy that's in your starting 5 if he comes back to Alabama. So is he okay with that role, and how much money are you going to pay for that?
It's pretty dramatic how his numbers went when he left Alabama.
Grass isn't always greener, Pat. But that's all right. Let's see. Trip texts in. He says, Pat, do you have a Major League Baseball play today? Go Braves, chop on. And somebody else that I apparently blaming Barrett Sallee for the Braves' misfortune through 6 games.
I'm sitting here looking at the docket for today's a lot of matinees, a lot of getaway days.
I was about to say, you got a few games already underway this morning.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pitching matchups here. Nothing really.
You're not loading up on the Bravos?
No. As I'm looking at the
y'all have Sonny Gray on the bump today.
Yeah, he looked okay.
Angels.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. Yeah, we've lost back-to-back games and extra innings to the Angels of all teams. But it is baseball. The Braves are currently plus 210 on the money line. So if
they're going to win eventually, right?
Yeah. So I mean that's a nice little payday. Right now they're plus 1.5, and they're plus money on they're plus 105 on the actual plus 1.5 runs. So I might look at that.
Yeah, thank you for. It's just a common theme, and like we got 5 text messages in the last 10 seconds, and they're all the same thing.
Is it whose fault it is that the Braves are losing?
No, it is complaining about a certain text that I read earlier and how somebody, all he does is talk negative about Alabama and needs to get a life.
Oh.
Things along those lines. Let's see. Yeah, CFJF, he texts in and says, so remind me again, what round of the NCAA tournament did Miami lose again this year? Whew, they were out of contention for that early in the season. Let's see. Yep. Bama hater needs to talk about something other than Alabama. Yep. How many championships has Miami won in football in the last 20 years? Oh, yeah. Yep. Here we go. Let's see. Yes, and I did know, where did this guy transfer to? I do remember him transferring again. Where did he end up? But somebody texted in and said, did y'all know that TJ Finley hit the transfer portal again? Tulane. Okay, that's where he's going. He's going to Tulane. But yes, we were aware that TJ Finley is transferring again. And he adds in something nice, though. He said, I still remember the game that TJ Finley came in and saved the day against Georgia State, getting put in to replace Bo Nix. He did save that game for Auburn.
He did. Remember
that
it well.
Might be the only positive thing that Auburn fans will remember from his time, but you did take Alabama to 4 overtimes in the Iron Bowl that year.
And I've said that, man. Just watching him in Birmingham against Houston, it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
America, though, the land of opportunity. There's no better evidence for that than TJ Finley continuing to find new locations to go and play college football. Let's see. Mike texted in from Birmingham. He says, okay, somebody asked about this morning, too. I guess this is a rumor that's going around on social media. This is not happening, but Mike Lou texted in and says, what do you guys think about Mark Sears transferring to Auburn? Well, Mark Sears cannot transfer to Auburn because he is out of eligibility.
Out.
So he is done, regardless of if he wanted to or not. He cannot play college basketball anymore. So he is gone. Somebody asked who is clapping in the background, and they are doing some sort of. Are they introducing the Barons players?
Yes, they're introducing every single one of the Barons roster.
Yes, and so they are all clapping in the background. So that's what you hear there. But
they're actually clapping for Conrad reading text.
That's what they think I'm doing a great job, and I appreciate them for that. But you can chime in on the Courtesy GMC text line as well, 205-834-9450. We will read more of your text throughout the show.
Absolutely. That is 205-834-9450. We welcome your interaction on this program. I want to tell you about our good friends over at APS. Water can find its way into your crawl space if you're a homeowner, bringing dangerous mold, mildew, and wood rot. But APS can protect your home's foundation and provide valuable storage space as well. APS crawl space encapsulation system, it can stop the water, it can keep the pests out while lowering your energy costs all at the same time. The engineers at APS will design a custom solution for your home. Those crawl space problems don't get better over time. They get better when you call APS, 205-951-9717. Start protecting your home today at APS, established in 1977 to solve the most challenging issues around your home. 205-951-9717 or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com. We're live at Regions Field, downtown Birmingham, as it's Birmingham Barons Media Day as they get ready to kick off their season in just a couple of days as the defending Southern League champions. This is Three Man Front Live, Jocks 94.5. It is 1222, Jocks 94.5. We're live downtown, Regions Field. It's Birmingham Barons Media Day. Appreciate the Barons having us out. We've already talked to Jonathan Nelson. We had Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16. And I want to go back to a text that we got a couple of minutes ago. I wanted to clarify something, and I know you brought it up because you talked about it this morning on Morning Jocks, but talk about the tweet that has a lot of Alabama fans curious about a potential return of a former Alabama basketball player.
Yeah, so there was I can't remember which one it is exactly, but there was a tweet that got put out by an Alabama fan site essentially, and it was saying that Sam Walters, who had played at Alabama 2 years ago, then transferred to Michigan this last year, that he's now back in the portal. That is confirmed, but there's a report that he was already committing to return to Alabama. That is false. So that's why I said last segment I don't think that's confirmed because I hadn't heard from anything, but we now know that is false. It doesn't mean that he's not potentially returning to Alabama.
But that particular report, that was a fake tweet. That is not true.
As of 12:23 on this Wednesday, Sam Walters is not returning to Alabama. And quickly, another note, I don't know if y'all hit on this yesterday or not, but I know another name that a lot of people have been waiting on was Adrian Woolley, the kid from Kennesaw State who's from Tuscaloosa, averaged 17 or 18 points a game this year. He's going to Louisville. So he had been in the mix for both Alabama and Auburn, I believe, and everyone thought, obviously, Alabama. He's from Tuscaloosa, but he's going to Louisville. So that's not happening, and Sam Walters back to Alabama not happening as of right now.
Well, if you need somewhere to catch all the tournament action, you need to check out Big Whiskeys because they have several big screens in the bar with unique cocktails and over 120 whiskeys on tap. On tournament game days this March and April, you can get $6 select appetizers, $2 domestics, and $3 craft beer. So go out and enjoy the outdoor patio in their game area. It's great for families, and the kids eat free on Tuesday. So go check them out in the Stadium Trace Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
All indications, the University of Louisville, Kentucky, those programs are going to be spending a lot of money.
I feel like I've seen Kentucky on every graphic that comes out about a player in the portal and potential landing spots.
And that is not surprising because as soon as Louisville got bounced out of the NCAA tournament by Creighton, they were very quick to let it be known to everybody that they were going to be open for business and they were going to go north of $10 million. The feeling is that Arkansas paid the most for their roster this year in basketball. Ty Richardson, other people that follow very closely that Arkansas basketball program, they've told us throughout the basketball season that it was north of $10 million of what Coach Cal and Arkansas had committed to that current roster. You just have to wonder now with the likes of Louisville and some other programs. I'm not saying Will Wade's NC State is going to get up to $10 million. NC State only spent $2 million this year on their roster. Another reason why NC State was as poor as they were. So a lot of these programs, they can get back to the promised land quicker now because of the transfer portal. So it will be interesting to see what Alabama and Auburn is willing to put forth moving forward. Alabama got a lot of money last year by that Final Four run. That's what really filled those coffers up for that basketball program. So we'll just wonder to see if that – fervor is still there for the people that give to the basketball program, although they fell short of making back-to-back Final Fours.
Yeah, and I think for both Alabama and Auburn, you're in a situation where you're going to have a lot of guys that are leaving just because you did have so much experience on these teams this year, even going beyond, guys like Mark Sears and Janai Broom. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities, you would imagine, for both of these staffs to go out and fill up their rosters with a ton of talent. And we know, what they've been able to get. And even getting the most out of a guy like, again, Mark Sears coming over from Ohio didn't absolutely light it up his first year at Alabama, but he was a nice player. And obviously we saw what he blossomed into the last couple of years. Janai Broom, similar, coming over from Morehead State. That wasn't going to win any of the headlines necessarily when those, transfers were announced. But we saw how they were able to be developed once they got into these programs. And I think that's an exciting thing is that not only are you in a position where you're going to have money to bring in guys that can contribute right away, you're going to be able to recruit the top talent in the country, but you've also shown an ability to get guys in and have kind of that long-term plan of, all right, give me this guy for 2 years in a program and see what I can turn them into. So a lot of opportunities, going to be a lot of new faces. We talked about it with Chris Stewart. It's going to be the same thing for Auburn next year. And these guys are going to have to be aggressive in the transfer portal, but you do have more opportunities now because I know I don't know what the number's up to now, but I do know that just in the first 24 hours that the basketball portal was open, you had over 700 guys putting their names in there, and that number's only continuing to rise each and every day. And we've even had a couple of guys like Payne from Texas A&M, Pharrell Payne. He entered his name into the portal a couple minutes ago here in the SEC. So these names continuing to get in there, and you have to think that Alabama and Auburn are going to continue to be two of the more ideal landing spots for a lot of players going into the portal.
Yeah, and you're already seeing Alabama very active. As soon as they got back from Newark, you started seeing pictures of guys visiting Tuscaloosa and Nate Oates, and the same thing's going to happen when Auburn gets back from the Final Four. That's the kind of stuff. I mean, they got to hit the ground running, but Bruce Pearl has been very open in interviews that he's conducted over the last week or so where he has basically said, look, we're in a situation right now where we've kind of identified, we know what we want. Now, I think the particular players, they'll just be able to pull the trigger, and be able to find what they need. So we'll see what happens with both Alabama and Auburn as they get quickly busy out of the transfer portal. You need to do something about your tree before it falls on your house. You need to call Golston Tree Service today at 205-337-4018. Operated by a certified arborist, Golston Tree Service handles little jobs like trimming hedges or shaping trees, hazardous jobs like lawn clearance, big jobs like complete tree removals with cranes, grinding the stump out in roots, and hauling off to the very last twig. They have cut down multiple trees on my house, around my house, and when I come home from work and I can't even tell except the trees are gone, but it's cleaned up to the point that it's like the trees were never there to begin with. That's what they can do, and they can also offer you 24-hour emergency storm work service. The number, 205-337-4018. They can come into your house. They give you a free assessment. They can look at any type of issue you think you might have, whether it's the limbs hanging over your house or your cars in your driveway, whatever the case. They're going to give you a free assessment. 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service. More three-man front. We're live at Regions Field, located downtown Birmingham. It's Barron's Media Day here on Jocks 94.5. 1233, Jocks 94.5. This is Three Man Front. We're live at Regions Field, downtown Birmingham. Appreciate the Birmingham Barons having us out this morning. If you missed any of our interviews, a long litany of guests this morning on the program, you can download the Three Man Front podcast. Landrum Roberts is on his way to San Antonio. He should be touching down, hopefully, within the next hour or so. Not sure if we'll be able to check in with him from San Antonio before we go off the air, but he will be live there at the Convention Center at Fanfare tomorrow. We'll have interviews, we'll have insiders, we'll have all sorts of fun things going on from San Antonio coming up tomorrow. We've got another mock draft. I know everybody, I haven't seen your mock draft yet. When are you putting yours out?
I'm working on it right now.
Are you?
Wait, basketball or football?
Football.
Or baseball.
Molly, have you put your mock draft together yet? I've been on mollyrobinson.com and I've not seen it yet.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you going to put it on your wall?
Of course it'll be on my wall.
Yes.
That would be sweet if she did that.
It's not
That would
even
be
a
really.
question.
That
I think
is
I'm
really-
only going to do the first round maybe, though.
I know what I need to buy her for Christmas this year.
Another wall so she
No,
has more room to put stuff up?
Painter's tape.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
See?
Yeah, she's going to run out of that. at
That's
this
a
rate.
gift that will keep on giving.
That's right.
Sure will.
So Bruce Feldman, outstanding writer for the New York Times, The Athletic. He has just posted, first time I've seen him do this, but he has posted his mock draft.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to the Steelers.
The Tennessee Titans at number 1, Cam Ward.
Yep.
No shot.
Yeah, makes
That
sense.
should.
No big stock there.
That is not rocket science. Yep.
Cleveland Browns take Abdul Carter.
Okay.
Great pick.
Mhm.
Yep.
At number 3, according to Bruce Feldman, Shedeur Sanders to the New York Giants.
Okay. Yeah. That. Molly does
not-
a laugh at that
I'm
one.
just laughing at the Giants in their quarterback room.
Did you see what Deion Sanders said this morning?
I did not. What did he say?
No, what did he say?
About
yeah,
Shedeur?
Yeah, he said if Shedeur Sanders ends up at the New York Giants,
He won't be my favorite son anymore.
No, he said based on Jameis Winston
Mhm.
and Russell Wilson being in the quarterback room with Shedeur Sanders, he said that you'll have so much prayer going on that most people will be baptized even before the game starts.
Okay. Those would just be 3 very interesting personalities in that.
Extremely.
Just talk about just a why.
Isn't that
Can we
crazy?
just do the Netflix quarterback show? Because I know they're bringing it back. Can we do it just on the Giants?
Hey, you can't forget Tommy DeVito. He's in that room, too.
Oh, that might be the worst part is they would have to cut DeVito.
Now hold on a second.
Tom and Lasagna.
Did I read that? No, maybe it was Rush. I thought is DeVito still there?
Technically, he's still there.
He
Yeah.
is still
Okay.
there.
Maybe I was thinking of the backup quarterback of the Cowboys.
Did
That he
someone get
left.
cut?
I think he left. I think he signed a deal elsewhere.
Oh, okay. Well, is he? Oh, he's on the Ravens. Yeah, Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the one I was thinking of. Okay. All right. So they got Shedeur Sanders going to the Giants. Coming in at number 4, Travis Hunter.
Okay.
To the New England Patriots. Okay.
Good for Vrabel.
Jags at 5 take Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan.
Okay.
Raiders take Walker, edge rusher from Georgia. Number 7, the Jets take Mimbu from Missouri, offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina Panthers, Mikael Williams from Georgia. Not a bad pick.
Nope.
Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU to the Saints.
Yep, they need
Hometown pick. Bears, Ashton Genty, running back from Boise.
Yep,
I
that
like
would be
that.
big for them.
I
Yep,
like
they need a
that
running
pick.
back.
That's a good pick. At 11, the 49ers would take Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, from Texas.
Mm-hmm. That's big. Cowboys take Almarian Hampton, running back from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to say I've seen a lot of places if Genty falls past the Bears,
Then the Cowboys take him.
would love to have Ashton Genty.
Dolphins take Will Johnson from Michigan. He's cornerback.
Yes. Does he protect Tua? Can he play offensive line?
Yeah, he's gonna play both ways.
Okay.
He's gonna play offensive line and on defense cornerback.
Thank God.
Indianapolis Colts, they take Tyler Warren from the Penn State
Ooh,
Nittany
okay.
Lions.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
At number 15, the Atlanta Falcons, according to Bruce Feldman, is going to take Jahad Campbell from the University of Alabama.
There we go. That'd be an excellent pickup.
Derek Harmon he's the defensive tackle from Oregon. He goes to Arizona at 16. Mike Green from Marshall
Okay.
to the Bengals.
Okay.
I will have to tell you, I'm not familiar with Mike Green's tape.
What does he play?
Apparently, you're not either. He is the edge rusher.
Okay, I was about to say they really need some defensive players on the Bengals. So I was hoping that. Okay.
The outstanding wide receiver from Arizona, McMillan, he's going to the Seahawks.
Oh, did you see the interview that he did the other day that has some people worried, where he essentially said, "Well, why would I ever watch film? We watch it in practice, so why would I ever want to watch it in my spare time?" It's like, well, okay. Okay.
Tampa is going to take an edge rusher from Boston College at number 20. The Denver Broncos, Matthew Golden from Texas.
Ooh, be good for Bo.
And here we go, folks. Number 21. The Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Bruce Feldman, they are going to take a quarterback.
Jackson Dart.
A Southeastern Conference quarterback.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Give me the curveball.
Jackson Dart.
Yep.
There we
Jackson
go.
Dart. That's been the it's just interesting how some of these rumors work out, because you hear, on one side, oh, the Steelers love Jalen Milroe, but then you also, oh, well, they also, there's a lot of teams that view Jackson Dart as a first-round talent.
The Chargers at 22 takes Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan.
Okay.
Packers take Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Vikings at 24. They take Amani Wari from South Carolina. Houston Texans at 25 takes Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. The Browns at 26 via the Rams. Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle at Ohio State. Malachi Starks goes 27 to the Ravens.
Ooh.
It always seems like the Ravens always go after
They have a
DBs.
great secondary. Yep.
At 28, Nick Scorton, who is the edge rusher from Texas A&M. He goes to the Lions.
I like
There you go,
that.
Molly.
I really
Yeah.
like that.
That'd be big for y'all.
Washington Commanders at 29 takes James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher from Tennessee.
Man, and I mean, he's such a good player, but I mean, that's a guy that
Getting him at 29
I mean, a year ago we were talking about him potentially being the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
and being the SEC Player of the Year.
Yep.
At number 30, Buffalo Bills Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. Kansas City Chiefs at 31, Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. That'd be a good pick.
That would be.
32, the Raiders via the Eagles take Igbuka from Ohio State.
Yeah. Miko Buka, he's very good.
Yep. And at 33, the Rams via the Browns take Thomas, the cornerback from Florida State. And
So no Tyler Booker yet.
And then at 37, the Eagles via the Raiders take Jordan Birch, the defensive lineman from Oregon. So only one Alabama player, according to Bruce Feldman, is going to make the cut and make the first round, and that would be Jahad Campbell at 15. No Auburn players in the top 20, or excuse me, the first 37 picks of the draft.
Yeah, and I understand that, I guess tackles tend to be a hot commodity a lot of the time. But I'm kind of surprised that Booker, just with how good he was at Alabama, that if there's one guy that you look back at the last, 2 or 3 years of Alabama football and you go, I have no question marks about that guy, it would be Tyler Booker. So, a little surprised to see him drop out of there. But, okay, so let me ask you this, and I know, you have your Ole Miss lean, I have my Alabama lean, it is what it is. If you are the Steelers at 21, do you think that it is wise, if you're using that pick on a quarterback, to go Jackson Dart over Jalen Milroe? Because 100% that is what I would tell them to do.
Yes.
I think that is an infinitely safer pick. Now, maybe it doesn't have as high of a ceiling in terms of what you could potentially get out of that pick, but I think for a Steelers team that looks more and more like they might need a quarterback that can be on the field this year, I would think Jackson Dart would be the right move there.
I agree 100% with that. We are live downtown Regions Field. It is Birmingham Barons Media Day. Appreciate the Barons having us out. More three-man front as we roll along on this Wednesday edition. Nathan King at the top of the hour. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 1246, Jux 94.5. We're live downtown, Regions Field, Birmingham Barons Media Day, the defending Southern League champions. And joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, somebody that knows a lot about baseball's Bob Ibach, longtime Chicago Cubs front office member. His son's involved in Major League Baseball. Bob, what a beautiful day down here at the ballpark in downtown Birmingham. I hope you're doing well.
I am doing great. Listen, I got just back from spring training, watching the Rays play down there in Port Charlotte, where my son's team, and I just love baseball this time of the year. But I also love it because it's the time for that great tournament to be out in San Antonio. And I know we talked yesterday about Auburn being involved, and I've got something special for all the Tigers fans that you're going to want to get your hands on this special basketball that we're doing. We're calling it a season to remember to salute the big tournament going on this weekend. Of course, you got the Auburn Tigers going up against Florida on Saturday, and hopefully they can get the job done and play on Monday night for the national title. They've never won one in college basketball, so that would be a first. And these basketballs that I'll be talking about in just a moment are, I think, very historic. I got a chance to see a prototype yesterday, and they really just knocked my socks off. I mean, the color and all the logos and all the information that's embossed on this full-size basketball to salute the Auburn Tigers is just fantastic. We're only going to make 5,000 of them. They're all priced at $149.95, and it will be upgraded. If the Tigers go on to win the national championships, we'll add another panel of the ball, which will say national champions, to really make it spectacular. But I know we've been getting a lot of calls since we talked to you yesterday. People are buying these things. They're flying off the shelf. So I do urge people, when I give out that phone number and website in just a moment, you're going to want to order this sooner than later, because this is a really special-looking basketball that kind of reflects on the 32-5 season for Coach Bruce Pearl's team. One of the panels on there got a recap of every one of the games that they played, and we'll also include the games over the weekend. We'll add those in there, but it's all the scores, the opponents, the dates, so you'll be able to reflect back years from now how this season unfolded. We've got the official Season to Remember logo there on one of the white panels with the colorful logos for the school. We've got Auburn logos in a couple other areas. And I do want to point out what makes this basketball really special, in my opinion, is that everything on there is embossed, which is almost like engraving things into the various panels. It's not It's not pad printed, so the sun won't go ahead and make these things fade. So if you'd like to order these, there's two ways you can get this. The toll-free number to call is 1-800-345-2868. That's 1-800-345-2868. Or you can go to the website, NICOsports.com, NIKCOsports.com. It's spelled NIKCOsports.com, or that 800 number, 800-345-2868. And when you go to the website, you can download a special gift flyer, print it out, and give it to that loved one that you're ordering it for, or yourself, and you'll be getting this basketball sent to you in about 6 to 7 weeks after the tournament is over this weekend. But the embossing process takes a little longer, but it really makes this thing special, and you will not find a basketball out there just like this.
Bob Ibach joins us from Nico Sports talking about this wonderful opportunity, and if I'm not mistaken, only 5,000 are made, correct, Bob?
Right. Just 5,000 made. We're probably already closing in on one-third of the way, already being sold out just in a couple days as we announce this. So, you're going to want to order this now. It will be upgraded if they go on to win 2 more games. It will say national champion. So when you order it now, know that if they go ahead and the Tigers get the deal done over the weekend and Monday night, they will. You'll get the final version of the basketball.
Bob, I do want you to talk about for a second because, we've been involved with you for a very long time. And, Nico Sports, they've partnered with hundreds of charities throughout the 30-plus years in the sports memorabilia industry. And over $3 million It's amazing what NICO has been able to do, and so just kind of talk about that for a minute because you guys just do a tremendous job with the charities that you partner with.
Well, I appreciate you bring that up because that's one of the reasons I got involved with NICO Sports almost 30 years ago. During my career with the Chicago Cubs in 1982, I saw the very first wish granted to a Make-A-Wish child out in spring training out in Mesa, Arizona. They're over, I think it's over 300,000 wishes later that they have, and it's just amazing that they what they've been able to accomplish. So not only have I been involved with Make-A-Wish, but Children's Miracle Network, Boys and Girls Clubs, some charities that are very, very close to my heart over the years. And NICO is up to about $3.4 million now for various charities that they've raised. So it's one of the things that I've always been appreciative of being around. I know I worked a lot when I helped Dick Vitale, the great basketball announcer, market some of his books. Mm-hmm. And Dick and I and his wife Lorraine would go around to hospitals down in the Sarasota area where he lives, and we'd walk into some of the rooms with Make-A-Wish kids and their families, and Dick would go ahead and give them one of his books, and then we go in there to cheer up these kids. And I'll tell you what, you walk out of that room, and we just would sit there in the hallway and just cry. It was just something that, but the kids were always jumping up and down and so happy and everything else. It was amazing. So when you get that close to situations like that and get involved in it, it's something that really tugs at your heart.
There's no doubt about it. Once again, NICO Sports. The website is nikcosports.com. One more time, Bob, tell us about this wonderful basketball, this awesome opportunity for Auburn fans to own a piece of this historic run to the Final Four.
Sure. It's priced at $149.95. Only 5,000 made. All the logos and all the records from the season, some history about Auburn basketball is listed on various panels of the ball, all embossed, so it's almost like it's engraved into it. And you get this for $149.95. The toll-free number is 800-345-2868. Only 5,000 will be made. And if you want to check it out on the website, you can also order it there at nikcosports.com. And that's spelled Nikco sports.com. And I will guarantee you'll have people walking into your home or office, and they'll say, "Where did you get that basketball?" It's a real conversation piece.
No, it looks tremendous. We sent it out on our social medias. It's a great-looking basketball, and every Auburn fan needs to have this in their collection. Bob, it's always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon, and we always appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you do the same thing, and I look forward to our next chat.
Thank you. That is Bob Ibach joining us from NICO Sports. The website, again, is nikcosports.com. And it's a great-looking basketball. You can go to their website and check it out. The panels, as he mentioned, kind of laser engraved, so it's not going to fade in time in regards to sunlight or lighting. So it's a tremendous basketball. Check it out at nikcosports.com. Speaking of Auburn, coming up in just a couple minutes, we will go to Auburn. He's not going to be at Auburn very long because Nathan King, he's going to go the route, of Landrum Roberts, getting on a plane, heading to San Antonio. He'll be there having extensive coverage for Auburn Undercover. He'll be joining us to give us his thoughts on Johni Broome. Is his injury serious? How much do you think it's going to affect Auburn moving forward? The rematch against the Florida Gators, how that's going to look like. So Nathan will join us in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's just such a fascinating game, to dive into as we will continue to do for the next couple of days, just because, when you go to that first matchup and it being in Neville Arena, you wouldn't typically look at, okay, well, if that happened in Gainesville, now we got them on a neutral site, but we've already seen this in Auburn's backyard and what Florida was able to do against them. But I do agree with, something that Blake Lovell said when we talked to him earlier in the show, which was, right now you could certainly make an argument that Auburn's playing better basketball than Florida is, and that was certainly not the case about 3 weeks ago. So how that kind of plays into it, obviously the health of Johni Broome is going to be big. I think it's going to be a big game for Dylan Cardwell, who's been very pivotal to Auburn in this NCAA tournament run. So be interested to see what Nathan has to say about the game coming up on Saturday.
Nathan is going to join us momentarily. This is Three Man Front. We're live downtown Regions Field, Birmingham, Alabama's the Birmingham Barons Media Day. More coming up next. Nathan King talking Final Four here on Jocks. As we begin hour number 4, three-man front on this Wednesday. Pat Conrad, Regionsville, downtown Birmingham. Birmingham Barons Media Day has been going on throughout the lunchtime hours. Molly Robinson high atop Red Mountain back at the radio station. Landrum Roberts in the air, about 30,000 feet above the state of Texas, trying to get to San Antonio.
Yeah, without destroying the lavatory. So hopefully that's going well for him. But it was nice. He sent us that picture, which I think you can go see on our Twitter feed, add the number 3-man front on X. But he looks like he got a seat right next to the bathroom, actually. So that's going to be very convenient. Hopefully it was an aisle seat, not a window seat, so he's not climbing over people. But hopefully he's having a safe trip there. I just saw a video of the Tiger Walk down there in Auburn as they are sending their team off to San Antonio to compete for the Final Four. So them and Landrum will both be there shortly. Will Auburn beat Landrum to San Antonio? That's the question now.
It may be. We're going to try to catch up with Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. I'm sure he's there outside of Neville Arena covering that event as we speak. The Dodgers and Braves, they will conclude their opening second series, I guess, of the season for the Braves tonight. You can hear the game at 6:20 on Jocks 94.5. Meanwhile, they got some bad news yesterday that Ronaldo Lopez, he's going to have arthroscopic surgery on his pitching shoulder, and appears he will be out for an extended absence. They really won't know the severity of the damage to his shoulder until he has surgery. So the Braves continue to struggle offensively. They're hitting .029 with runners in scoring position. Ozuna 214, Matt Olson 167, Albies 136, Austin Riley 091.
I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb, but when you're hitting 29 with runners in scoring position, I mean what? You've gotten one hit?
1 of 34.
1 of 34? That's
not ideal.
No, but can't get much worse. So nowhere to go but up.
That's right. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, he will be in San Antonio late tonight. Nathan King from Auburn Undercover joins us now. Pretty exciting as the Auburn team makes its way out of Neville Arena there, Nathan, as they get ready to head to San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different feeling than 6 years ago. That team was sort of a Cinderella. Obviously, they were a 5 seed, which is pretty high, but not necessarily a double-digit Cinderella. But number one, they were going up against the number 1 overall seed in UVA, and obviously this team was expected to take care of business. They were expected to be obviously the number 1 overall seed for most of the season. Getting to the Final Four is never easy, but this team has done it in pretty impressive fashion. I feel like their 4 games, they should have won all of them by double digits, kind of let Michigan State come back and hang around there towards the end. And, all eyes will be on Janai Broome and his injury status. But, regardless of what that looks like, it is going to be an incredibly anticipated matchup against Florida. First time we've ever seen 2 SEC teams going at it in the Final Four, and should be a rematch for the ages.
So, Nathan, heading into the tournament, I think you would have said that Florida had the momentum. A lot of people picked them to win the entire tournament. Auburn, not so much, losing 3 of their last 4. Now that we're going into this Final Four matchup, do you feel like that shifted at all based on what's happened in the NCAA tournament in terms of maybe who has the momentum going into this matchup?
I mean, I think Duke, out of this group, I think Duke is probably playing the best out of everybody.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty unquestioned. Florida and Auburn, I think, have been pretty similar in their tournament runs in terms of just finding ways to win. Florida's have been more dramatic, I think. Walter Clayton has made some crazy shots for them. Obviously, they came back and beat UConn in the second half. They had a much steeper comeback late in the last 3 minutes against Texas Tech. Auburn has had wire-to-wire leads in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. It led for most of those games, and then obviously Michigan in the second half led by 9. But still, it felt like Auburn has been a little bit more in control. But still, I think you would make the argument neither team is playing how they want to. Neither team thinks they are playing up to their potential right now, and that's why it's exciting on both sides. You truly feel like both sides believe they can go to the Final Four and play a more complete game. But, in terms of the parallels you can draw between both these groups, both of these are really experienced, deep teams that are just finding different ways to win right now. I mentioned Walter Clayton. Thomas Houck has been massive for them. Chinilu has been really, really big for them in the tournament as well. Obviously, Richard and Aberdeen give them great depth. And you've seen sort of the same sort of formula with Auburn. I mean, it's been Denver Jones and Todd Pettiford were fantastic against Michigan. Obviously, Janai Broome put them on his back against Michigan State in that first round. You saw some good performances across the board. Dylan Cardwell, I think, is playing some of the best basketball of his 5-year Auburn career. And so it's going to take, every X factor that you could possibly point to. It's going to take big games on both sides for Auburn and Florida for them, for either team to come out with a win.
Okay, so I know we're at the point of the season where everybody's got bumps and bruises, especially guys that play down on the post like Janai Broome. Is there one specific thing that might be bothering him the most right now that's keeping him away from doing anything until Thursday? Bruce yesterday, or is it just a compilation of the ankle, the elbow, the shoulder? Like, what is the elements right now that he is trying to deal with going to the Final Four?
Oh, it's 95% of it is the elbow. I don't think Janai is 100% from that ankle earlier in the year. I think that was sort of an injury that you knew he was never going to come back to. It was going to be completely healthy this season. But in the shoulder, it's been a while since that one as well. Yeah, I think they're used to Janai Broome having injuries. For better or for worse, this is his 3rd or 4th injury of the season. Most of them have been minor. Obviously, the ankle was a little bit more significant, and so they know how to deal with him at this point. I think Bruce Pearl knows that rest is going to be better for Janai Broome over the next couple days as opposed to trying to get him back working in. And so, like you said, Bruce said the plan is right now Obviously, he didn't practice on Tuesday, didn't practice today. The plan is to get him back into the mix on Thursday. I am led to believe it is mostly that elbow. Again, no damage, nothing like that, no risk of further injury. For him, it was just they knew when he hyperextended it, he was just in a lot of pain. And I think that pain, he was obviously adrenaline, the night of the game, but you knew once that game was over and they moved on to the next day, it was going to be sore and it was going to be in pain again. And so I think it's about making sure he's as close to 100% as possible, feeling well rested, feeling more comfortable, so that once they get on the floor in the Alamo Dome, it's like, okay, we can hit it harder now if you're Janai Broome, as opposed to if you tried to start to practice him on Tuesday, maybe you would have had to ease into things. And again, Auburn has learned how to deal with Janai Broome in 3 years and learned what works best for him. And obviously they didn't think that would be the best play.
Nathan, is it fair to say that at this point in the season, could you make the argument that maybe Tahad Pettiford is equally as important to what this Auburn team needs here in these last couple of games, potentially, compared to Janai Broome? Because we all know Janai Broome may be going to be the player of the year, but I just look at you're going up against a Florida team. We know how big Clayton's been. He's hit big shots against Texas Tech. He had a big shot earlier on in the tournament against UConn, hitting that three-pointer, and it just feels like this could be the kind of game where if Walter Clayton's on, Auburn's going to need somebody that can answer, particularly behind the three-point arc, and Tahad Pettiford has just been incredible all throughout the postseason so far for the Tigers.
Yeah, they're going to need Pettiford to answer offensively. They're going to need Denver Jones to answer defensively. You guys remember that game when Florida came to Neville Arena and scored 90 points? It was easily Auburn's worst defensive performance of the season, and it started in the backcourt. It started with transition defense. That's kind of a key to this game that I'm looking at. Florida's half-court offense has been good, not great, throughout the tournament. But when they just start to get up and down the floor and running with you, with their size and with their athleticism at guard, and the fact that Clayton has been so good this tournament, that's where they beat Auburn so badly in that first game. Started to get some transition threes, and from there they were just rolling. And so it's going to be equally as important for a guy like Tahad Pettiford, obviously, to get some scoring going. But Denver Jones as well. I mean, I think he's going to take this matchup personally. He takes every matchup personally against the opposing point guard. He's kind of the guy that Auburn will send and say, hey, try to go shut that guy down as best you can. Now, that's easier said than done with Walter Clayton. But, yeah, I mean, the fact that – I think you're exactly right. The fact that Tahad Pettiford has evolved in some points this season, and mainly this postseason, the fact that he has evolved into Auburn's second-best player at times, I think that's huge, because we all looked at Tahad Pettiford. We all looked at the traits that he had and said, yeah, that's the guy that can do it in March. Like, that's a guy that you just expect every year. Guard play wins in March, and Auburn's got an explosive, dynamic player like that. So far, he's absolutely lived up to it. This is one of the best postseasons we've seen from a freshman in a long time, and he's making the case to be one of the best freshmen Auburn has had in a long time.
Talking to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He'll be at the Final Four coming up later tonight, covering the Auburn Tigers for Auburn Undercover, a member of the 247 Network. All right, so let's talk about the next game. After, if Auburn does take care of business and they knock off Florida, the matchup, Duke or Houston, kind of break it down for us. So which one do you think is a better fit for what Auburn can do and disrupt the other team, Duke or Houston?
Oh, they'd much rather see Houston. I think everybody would much rather see Houston at this point. And that's not to say Houston is not a fantastic team, because they're a phenomenal team that's very capable. They're the best defense in the country. And so if anyone's going to be able to slow down this wagon that Duke has right now, I just think the thing about Houston is, number one, Auburn's already beaten them this season. Now, that was back in the second game of the year, but they will play that more slow half-court pace, and where Auburn will feel like, okay, if we go 5-on-5 in half-court, we have a good opportunity to stop you. We have really good scorers. Duke just gets rolling on you. Duke has just been a team throughout the tournament that they've proven to be a mismatch in too many spots. And I think Auburn is uniquely equipped to go against a team like that. Because they've got depth at so many positions. Obviously, they have a lot of size and have a lot of athleticism. But I just think from the simple fact that Duke is playing like the best team in the country right now, you would very much like to avoid them. So, like you were saying, if Auburn can somehow get past Florida, I say somehow. Obviously, they'll have an opportunity to win that game easily. It's not easily, but it's easy to see how they could win. It's not like it's an upset or anything like that. If they're able to get to that national championship game, I just think you would much rather see Houston. You already have the confidence from that first meeting, and the fact that, I think that's going to be a really, really tall task for Houston to be able to slow down Duke. As you guys saw in the Elite Eight against Alabama and what they did in previous rounds as well. They've got so many weapons, and even if you hold them down for a couple minutes, they're going to go on a quick scoring run. They've got so much size and athleticism on defense. I think that is the best team in the country. I think Duke is, and we're going to find out this weekend, obviously, if they can turn that into a championship.
That is Nathan King joining us here on Three Man Front. Nathan, listen, have a safe trip to San Antonio. It should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, Landrum can catch up with you down the Riverwalk and maybe have another chat or two. But we always appreciate it. It should be a good weekend. Enjoy your time in San Antonio.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. See y'all there.
Thank you. That is Nathan King joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. When we come back on Three Man Front, the latest top 10 transfer portal list, a very familiar name is on top of that list. That's next on Three Man Front.
.116, welcome back in, three-man front. Conrad Van Witter, Pat Smith, and Molly Robinson here with you. Pat and I out here at Regions Field for Birmingham Barons Media Day, introducing the team to the local media. A lot of new faces here. We got a new voice of the Birmingham Barons as well, a new manager, a lot of new faces here around the Magic City, and appreciate them having us up here. Landrum Roberts is we hope still in the air on a flight to San Antonio. Got a little bit of a delay between Dallas and San Antonio, but he is about to be our boots on the ground there, Pat, as Auburn gets ready to do battle with Florida at 5:09 p.m. on Saturday. I'm very interested to hear what Landrum's thoughts are. We had somebody on the text line a few minutes ago post some pictures. Looks like they are just now arriving in San Antonio, posting pictures of the arena with some Auburn and Florida and Duke and Houston logos plastered around there. So looks like some Auburn faithful already hitting the road.
Well, you might be asking yourself, when is the best time to shop for diamonds? And that's actually right now, because April is Diamond Month at Diamonds Direct. Whether you're looking for an engagement ring, if you're thinking about popping the question, a timeless anniversary gift, or something special for a mom, or even a graduate coming up, they've got it all at Diamonds Direct and at amazing prices as well. Plus, with free cleanings and lifetime upgrades, you always shine bright in that gift. They're going to always love it. Seriously, I love this place. Go see it for yourself, so go check them out at Diamonds Direct.
So I'm sitting here trying to track Landrum's plane to see where he is.
Well, we should be good at this now with all the college football coaches' flights we've tracked.
It is a 1 hour and 13-minute flight from Dallas to San Antonio.
That's longer than I thought it would be.
And according to this, he has landed.
He has landed, and he hasn't let us know that he's safe?
I'm a little upset.
Yeah. We're over here worried sick about him.
I mean, I wasn't, but y'all were.
Well, me and Molly were. Well, good. I'm glad to know that
we care.
He's arrived, and he can go down to the War Eagle watering hole or whatever it was that Don was telling about this morning.
His flight did not get over 20,000 feet.
And you said he was 30,000 feet in the air.
Well, it says he arrived about 18 minutes ago.
Already going off the script, I see, from Landrum, but that's all right. It's all right. He had to go find the local wing spot.
The question is, will people in Oxford, Mississippi be using Flight Tracker to see if their basketball coach is going to Texas A&M?
That's a good question. Them and their rivals across the state there in Starkville might be doing the same thing based on some of the early reports and the early hot boards for the Texas A&M opening.
So last time you flew, I guess, was it coming back from Vegas? No, not Vegas. From
Dallas.
Dallas. That's right. From SEC.
Yeah, that was the last time I was on a plane. Yep.
Do you like when you're there? What do you do? Like when you're in a plane and you're flying, are you on your phone? Are you on Wi-Fi? Are you tracking the plane? Like, what do you do to kill the time? Download a movie?
Yeah, typically. So, I mean, I'll listen to music for a lot of it. Sometimes if I'm feeling scholarly, I'll take a book and act like I'm going to read it and then not end up reading it because I just don't like that.
So you make people sitting around you think that you're...
Well, yeah, you pull the book out early and people are like, oh, man, this guy, yeah, he's about to start reading here. And then you just kind of put it in the back pocket and forget about it potentially when you get off the plane. But, no, I listen to music. And now, yeah, I mean, you can go and, Netflix and these different places, you can go and, like, download. If you're watching a show, for example, you can go and download 2 episodes of it so you can watch them on the plane without Wi-Fi. So I'll normally do something.
Okay, that's pretty cool. How about you, Molly, because you fly a lot? You go back and forth to Nebraska and Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll bring a book, music, watch a show. I typically fly Southwest, so they have the their own streaming service with movies and music and stuff. So, but like I said, sometimes I'll bring a book. But I'm also the type of person where it's not motion sickness, but like I can't always read if I'm in the car or in a plane because it gives me a headache. So sometimes I don't go that route. So normally it's just a show or something.
When I was talking to Landrum yesterday when we were leaving Social Taco, and he was talking about the last time that him and Dorothy flew. It was the Colorado trip.
Oh, yeah, that was recently.
And he had some really bad turbulence.
I thought you were going to say something else, like a turbulent
I
stomach.
did coming back from Florida, Pat, when I went back in January.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
And he said it was one of the worst that he's ever experienced, to the fact that, I mean, it rattled him. I mean, it.
Like were the luggage containers like opening up or anything like that?
It didn't go that far.
Okay, that's good.
But it was just.
That would freak me out.
Yeah. So, I mean, he said it was, so he had a little anxiety,
Well, it's because he reads all those stories about all the horrible things, and then he shares them on the show, and then when he gets on a plane, it's not so funny anymore.
Do you think he's that way in the ocean? Because he always tells us shark stories?
I'm just going to say I couldn't tell you the last time I heard Landrum was going to the beach. So I think that kind of tells us right there. That's one of the things people don't understand. You know, we really put ourselves on the line to find these stories to share with everybody every day, and sometimes that has repercussions. We know too much.
Have you ever been on a flight where you, like, really got concerned? Whether it was weather, turbulence, whatever the case may be?
I've had minor turbulence before. I think there's one time where I was on a flight and it was a situation where we couldn't land because something,
of weather or mechanical?
No, something had happened on like the runway that we were trying to land on, like a plane had gotten stalled or something. And so anytime, you're just kind of circling in the air and, they're giving you updates, over the intercom as often as they can. But, when you're just kind of sitting there floating around and all you're hearing is, oh, yeah, we're not allowed to land right now. And you just start wondering what's going on. But that's the worst that I've ever had, fortunately. So no shaky landing gears or anything. I will say sometimes I do get a little, when you're going to land, that's when I'm always like, all right, this is,
kind of
this is there. When things could get bad, but
how about you, Molly?
Unfortunate.
Any really, really bad experience?
The worst flight I was ever on was I was coming home from break one time. I think this was my junior or senior year, and I could never get a direct flight from Omaha to Nashville or Huntsville, so I would usually fly in like to Dallas or St. Louis, Kansas City, one of those. And this flight in particular was a 6 a.m. flight out of Omaha, and I was going to St. Louis for my layover. And talk about turbulence. I felt like I was on a roller coaster with the amount of drops that we had. And I've been on hundreds of flights in my entire life. And this, by far, I was, thinking like, man, like, do I need to text my mom and tell her I love her? Like, it had gotten to that point. So luckily I haven't had the situation like Conrad where we couldn't land. But I think what it was, if I'm not mistaken, St. Louis was getting really bad storms that morning. And for some reason, I guess they just wanted to fly right through the thunderstorm. But it was by far the worst flight I've ever been on. Horrible.
I think I've told this story before on the show, but Paul and I were covering the Auburn-Oregon National Championship game, and we had flown from Birmingham to Memphis, then Memphis to Phoenix. And in front of me, I had the screen, the flight tracker of where we were. It was also the night of the Under Armour High School football game.
Yeah.
So on my laptop, I had the game. I was watching the game. Paul was sitting on the other side of me on the aisle, and he was, of course, reading a book. I was sitting there watching the Under Armour game, and then on my screen on the seat, it had the flight tracker, and we were somewhere over New Mexico, and we took a big dip, and the pilot came on and said, I'm going to turn the fasten seatbelt lights on. I see we got some turbulence, and we're gonna try to drop below it, and we're gonna try to get through it. And so then, lo and behold, another about 2 minutes, it happened again, where we dropped even more, and then we were still getting the bad turbulence, and then of course, it got to the point to where I'm talking about massive drops. I'm not talking about just a very
like what Molly was talking about, like almost like you're on a roller coaster.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how my flight was too.
Yes, and so the first time it happened, I looked over to Paul, didn't even look up, like he's reading the book,
just so unbothered.
I mean, just like this is normal, no big deal. Yeah. I'm sitting there like going, okay, well that didn't feel normal, and so it happens the second time. I look over there to him, and then he kind of looks up a little bit, but he still keeps reading his book. Well, by that time, Molly, kind of like you. I was on the Wi-Fi, and I had my email pulled up, and I was emailing my wife.
Oh, legitimately, like it got to that point.
I'm not lying.
Whew.
And I wrote her, I loved her, kissed the boys. This flight is a mess. Hope I'm wrong. And it happened a third time. And the third time is when I knew we were in trouble, because Paul put the book away. And, of course, you always try to find the stewardesses, because if they're like, you watch their reactions, You know,
I was about to say, if they start getting worried, then you're like, oh, this is really bad.
and so the stewardesses had like gone and taken their
when they go and buckle up themselves,
their
yeah.
locations, and I look over at Paul and I'm like going like what the heck, like what's happening here, you know? And so fortunate enough we got underneath the turbulence, and then we landed in Phoenix, and I'm like, get me off this plane, like I want to touch ground, just get me off this plane. Got off the plane. And as Paul and I were going to get our luggage, I looked at him and I said, look, you fly a whole heck of a lot more than I do. On a scale of 1 to 10, like, where was this? Like 10 being, like, we should have been concerned. He goes, it was a 10. And you could have never tell it by the way that he was reacting.
Yeah, he was just.
But it was just the fact that it was just, it was all about the turbulence. But no oxygen mask came down, no luggage came out of the holds or anything like that. It was just the fact that they were, like you said, Molly, it was dropping so much that it was taking people's breath, and it was just like, it was literally like you're on a.
It's terrifying.
On a ride. So,
unfortunately, yeah, I've never had that. I have had before, where your flight gets delayed, and they say, oh, well, your flight's delayed because. Oh, there's something wrong with one of the engines on that one. It's like, thank you. Yep, Let's delay as long as we need to. I'm not worried about the delay anymore.
Yeah,
Don't
that was the same trip that so we get there, we go through that drama. And then if Auburn fans remember that weekend leading into the Monday Night National Championship game, there was a snowstorm, ice storm in Birmingham. And so then they were canceling flights, and then we were having a problem potentially
being able to getting
back to Birmingham, and our hotel room had already been taken up because there was another big convention coming in. So we were trying to find backup plans. Meanwhile, Paul and I had already sent our luggage back to Birmingham via Federal Express because.
So you were preparing to stay in Phoenix with no.
Only thing I had was a backpack, toothbrush, another change of, had some shorts, T-shirt, underwear, things like that. But that's all. That's all I had left. Paul was about to go buy me a new wardrobe.
I should have taken him up on that.
But fortunately, we were able to get back to Birmingham, and we skidded on the runway as we flew. We left Phoenix, I think, at 3 a.m. And touched down in Birmingham about 6:30, 7 o'clock that morning, and
So is this 3 a.m. like the game was Monday night, and then that night you're on the flight back to Birmingham?
As soon as the game was over with, we headed to Sky Harbor, got there, and we got delayed because we had 300 and something people on this flight coming back to Birmingham because it was a charter for Auburn fans. And the crew, they did not have enough crew members to handle that many people on the plane, so we had to wait for another plane to land to get that crew off so that they could join the crew going to Birmingham. And so we were in the air as the sun was coming up. So it was a very long day.
I can imagine.
National championship, and then getting to the airport and sitting there waiting on another crew. It was no mechanical problems. It was just that, and then we landed in Birmingham, and we literally skidded on the runway because of the ice.
Just imagine, yeah. So who wants to volunteer to get off this flight and hop on another one that's going into a snowstorm?
And the good news is the very next year, the national championship game was in New Orleans, and we drove.
Yeah, I was about to say, a little bit easier there.
So I was like, okay, we're good to go. All right, this is Three Man Front live on Jocks 94.5. We've been at the Birmingham Barons Media Day today. We've talked to Jonathan Nelson, the general manager. It's been a great day here. We appreciate their hospitality. When we come back, we'll do some Pat Ponders. We'll take your texts at 205-834-9450. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, we just got a gift from Jonathan Nelson, general manager of the Barons.
Not a ring.
It's not the ring that he kind of joked with me about in the first hour of the show, but he did bring us some batting practice baseballs because the team is out there taking BP right now. How cool is that?
That's right.
Very nice. Appreciate the hospitality that the Barons always give us here at Jocks 94.5.
Do we get to run the bases after the show?
If you want to, I'll get you out there.
Thank you.
Well, spring weather in Alabama can be really unpredictable, so that's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. So to find out more, go visit them at trane.com.
All right, we do this every day. I come up with 5 pondering questions. They give me answers, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Check out the online inventory at Courtesy GMC and Trustful. April has begun, and the deals continue to roll in daily. CourtesyBirmingham.com. Question number 1. Which potential Final Four national championship matchup, in your opinion, would draw the highest television rating?
Which national championship matchup would have the best television rating? Well, Duke. I'll go. It's probably Duke and Florida. Because, again, Florida, I mean, I guess they've been more of a national name in basketball. You know, what Billy Donovan did is still probably fresh on a lot of people's minds. Besides Duke, they were the second biggest, or, you know, I guess the second most picked team in people's brackets to win it all. Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably Duke and Florida because you just got a little more tradition there. And, I mean, obviously, whatever side Duke is going to draw a lot more than Houston.
See, I was going to say Duke and Florida too, Conrad. You already said it, but I was also thinking the same thing as when you look at all the different tournament brackets that people have made, the 2 most popular picks were Duke and Florida. So I think just that in itself would probably draw a lot of viewers.
Plus, we've already seen, you know, some people will say we've already seen Duke and Auburn, and the same thing for Auburn and Houston, so let's see something new.
Question number 2. You have 2 Final Four coaches that are in their 60s. The other 2 coaches are in their 30s. If you could have any of the 4 coaches to plug into a different school for the next 5 years, who would you take? Of the Final Four coaches, and you could have them for 5 years at a school, which one would you choose?
Oh, man, that's tough.
Todd Golden, have you ever been to Lincoln?
Okay, I could make a case for every single one of them.
I know.
No, you could.
I know.
All right, so you say Todd Golden.
I'll go with Todd Golden, yeah.
Okay.
That's the way that I was leaning.
And the reason I said 5 years is because you got 2 coaches in their 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how much longer they want to even do this.
Yeah, see, I would, and I mean, I guess this is SEC bias, because, yeah, I mean, I was leaning Todd Golden or Bruce Pearl. Nothing against Kelvin Sampson. I just think his style, granted, it could translate probably to a lot of places. You just have to get players that were willing to buy in and play that gritty version of defense. But I don't want to watch that if I'm, you know, the one hiring a coach. I don't want as much of a defensive style. And then I think John Shire's done a great job, but, you know, let's get a little more out from the Coach K era before, you know, I'm ready to, I guess, crown him as the next greatest coach in college basketball. So, yeah, I'd go Todd Golden, I think, just because even if you have 5 years, you know, if it goes well after that, you could keep him around for even longer. So, yeah, I'd probably go Todd Golden a little bit over Bruce Pearl.
Question number 3. The NFL wants to launch professional flag football leagues, and they already have 10 outside investors, including Serena Williams, that want to be a part of this venture. Now, the NFL would not own the leagues. They would basically source it out. They would have investors. The NFL would be involved, but they would not be the sole proprietor of these leagues. Do you guys believe that a men's-women's professional flag football league would financially make it?
No.
No.
Not a chance in the world. And I'm.
All right, let me ask you this. Go ahead, Molly.
Well, no, I was going to say no, too, because, I mean, I'm looking forward to it for the Olympics, especially if we do get to see some of, like, the big-name stars. But other than that, probably not.
Now, they're talking about either having both, a men's and women's.
Okay.
If it was just one or the other, would that entice you more to think that it would be successful? Like if you said it's just going to be a men's flag football league.
No.
I'm going to say no.
Or a women's flag football league.
No.
The answer is still no.
Yeah, still no.
No, and I think the reality is, I mean, look, the numbers don't lie. You can look at, I guess currently how things went for this opening weekend of the UFL season, and I think that's a great product. We love what we've gotten here in Birmingham. The Stallions have been great, and even we struggle when it comes to getting eyeballs and getting people to go and attend Stallions games. So, yeah, no, I don't. I think flag football is like it's a cool niche thing. If it's in the Olympics, yeah, people get excited because it's an event that maybe they understand a little better and can get excited for. But a professional or a semi-pro flag football league, no, I just don't. No. Do you disagree?
No, I do not.
There's certain things that are good ideas, but like I would be interested to hear. Like, how much money does the Cornhole League make, for example, right? Because I kind of it's one of those niche things for me where I understand it's football, but, it's the kind of thing I would expect to see on ESPN2 on a Sunday afternoon when there's nothing else on, for me.
I'm with Molly on this one. I'm excited about seeing flag football in the Olympics in Los Angeles, but a league?
We don't need that.
Watching this, yeah. All right, question number 4. The Chiefs have had preliminary discussions with the NFL to make Kansas City a permanent Christmas team, playing always on the holiday, similar to the Lions and Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. So if the Chiefs do get the nod to become that Christmas team, they would more than likely look at another team to be a drafting partner to schedule as well with the Chiefs, not against each other, but as a standalone team that would play somebody else on Christmas Day. Who, in your opinion, would be good to join the Chiefs on Christmas Day?
Ooh.
We already have the Lions and Cowboys on Thanksgiving, so if the Chiefs get the nod, what's another NFL team that would be a good Christmas Day partner?
Maybe the 49ers?
Oh, see, I was thinking Niners or even the Bills.
I was thinking Packers, maybe. Bills, yeah.
Yeah, Packers, because then you get like if you do have like a white Christmas, the snow, the scenery, that sort of thing. I was thinking like one of the more like northern teams. But I do think the 49ers is still a good answer, though.
Yeah, well, and I think, because I thought what you were going to ask is who should the permanent opponent be, and I think a lot of people would have said the Bills, right, if you could have the Chiefs and the Bills. But the reality is Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen aren't going to play forever. But, no, I think if you want to go, you've got kind of two directions you could go. Do you want to go for the more traditional, historic team, 49ers, Packers, Steelers, or do you want to go for, maybe a younger and flashier team like, the Ravens or something like that? So, but yeah, I think 49ers, I think what Molly said would make a lot of sense with the Bills as well. So,
how about Kansas City wanting to be that team?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Again, like, it's great right now, but what happens when Patrick Mahomes retires?
Right.
Like, are we going to be wanting to watch the Chiefs on Christmas Day in 10 years? Maybe, but...
Well, no offense to Molly's Detroit Lions, but they have been terrible for a very long time.
They have.
And they're always one of the teams.
And we still went and watched them on Thanksgiving, though.
See, but that, I guess at that point, it's just become a historical... Exactly. It's a tradition thing, so I'm willing to overlook the fact they haven't been competitive, but now they are. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, fifth and final question of today. So Frank Reich is the new head coach of the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford GM Andrew Luck called Reich while Reich was shopping at a Costco in Greensboro, North Carolina. So Luck offers him the job while he was shopping. And he told Luck that he was going to have to discuss this with his wife. So what reaction do you think Reich had? Did he keep shopping after the phone call with Andrew Luck? Or did he leave his shopping cart in the aisle and head out to go home and discuss the job? I have the answer. I'm just curious.
I think
what
he
you
was
think
like,
you would do.
well, I'm glad you brought up the story you did in the last segment about, the flight you and Paul had. I would imagine he was like how Paul reacted in that flight with the turbulence. He's just, yep, okay, thank you, Andrew.
So that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, what brand, honey? What? Okay.
Yes,
He's just continuing on down the aisle while he's having.
So he's just
cool,
conducting
calm,
his
and
life.
collected.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he's, I'm still going to need these groceries. I still need to eat that night. So yeah,
He finished his shopping. He went and checked out. He paid. He drove home.
Yep.
I don't think he would just
Absolutely.
leave his stuff.
You are both incorrect.
Man.
So he dropped everything and went right home.
He said he put his buggy or cart, whatever part of the world you're living in.
Very mannerly. Good.
Yes. Buggy or cart.
Good.
He returned it, and then he left. But he
so he
stopped
must
shopping.
have not been deep into his shopping yet.
See, that's the question, Molly.
Yeah.
That's what we need to know. How many
I
items
don't
were
know.
in the cart?
That's what I
because
want to know.
if you got 3, sure. But I mean, was this guy like, did he go and put back 35
So what
items?
would you have done? If Paige had asked you to go Costco and you got the call from Pat McAfee and said, hey, we want you to come work for us and we're going to quadruple your pay what 3-Man Front is paying you, what would you do? Would you continue shopping at Costco or would you just leave the cart immediately and head for the airport to Indianapolis?
I would keep shopping because I'd be like, I don't know if that's really the opportunity that I'm looking for, but it would quadruple my salary would certainly be nice. But yeah, no, I think in that scenario I'd be shopping. Now if Steinbrenner called me up and said, hey, this Brian Cashman guy is really getting to be a thorn in my side. We want you to be the next GM of the Yankees. I'm putting all the items. I might not even put the shopping cart back at that point.
See,
I'm
I
running
see
out
Molly
the store.
as the person. It wouldn't matter what the job would be. Molly would be excited, but Molly would finish shopping.
I would.
And then Molly she would be beaming from ear to ear.
I would be talking to the checkout manor lady, being like, how's your day? My day's been great.
Yes.
But
Tell
we
me
also
about
know
your day.
Molly's shopping list is quite short.
Well, it is. I'm shopping
That
for
is
one
true.
person, so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
makes it a little easier on her. That was a good question, though. But I'm disappointed that he didn't just keep on, business as usual.
Before I heard him talk about it, I immediately thought that he finished his whatever, and then he left.
Yeah.
But he said immediately he was offered the job. He told Andrew Luck he had to talk to his wife, and so he returned his cart and he went home to talk to his wife.
Well, I guess that tells you he was clearly quite interested. I mean, obviously he took the job, but yeah. If you're not that interested, you probably don't drop everything. But hey, good for him. It's a cool story. We'll see how it works out.
No doubt. That is today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Visit them in person right there off of I-459, exit 32 in Trustful. Online inventory always at courtesybirmingham.com. We will put a bow on this live broadcast from Regions Field. Paul Feinbaum at the top of the hour. This is Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. It's Three-Man Front, the Paul Feinbaum Show coming up at the top of the hour. Again, many thanks to Jonathan Nelson and the fine folks here at the Birmingham Barons, allowing us to broadcast today at the Birmingham Barons Media Day luncheon as the team was introduced to the media as they get ready to kick off the 2025 season as the defending Southern League champs. The Courtesy GMC text line, we're going to try to get to as many texts as we can before we head off the air. That's 205-834-9450.
So, and we have a couple people that have chimed in about the Frank Reich question you asked us, which was when Andrew Luck called Coach Reich and offered him the Stanford job, he was in Costco shopping, and you asked us if we thought he put the items back or if he continued finished shopping and then went home to discuss the job with his wife. And Mike texts in and says, well, it should depend on if he was shopping for himself or for his wife. If he's shopping for his wife, he better have finished shopping.
That's very true.
That is very true. Shane, with a little bit of a different perspective, he says, why was he the one shopping and not his wife?
Okay.
Maybe his wife was busy. Let's see. Greg texted in, and he thinks that you let me off too easy, Molly, by agreeing with my answers and Pat Ponders. He thinks you're being too nice to me.
Oh, well,
I
you're
appreciate
welcome,
you,
I guess.
I appreciate you being nice, Molly. Let's see.
How many times did you call Molly when she was sick?
Doug
how many
texted
times?
in.
I forgot.
Doug texted in. I'm sorry, I can't hear the
It's getting feedback.
Molly's
in his headset.
microphone. Yeah, that one's not working right now. Doug texts in, he says, nobody cares who the NFL Christmas Day teams are. It's just an afternoon opportunity to drink and ignore your family. Okay, well, that's how you feel about the Christmas games.
That's the spirit.
Let's see. Somebody texted in and they say, didn't Patrick Mahomes complain about playing on Christmas this year? I believe he did. That sounds right. I feel like you've heard a lot of players that have complained about.
Well, there's going to be 3 Christmas Day games this year, so
Yeah.
folks get ready for that. There'll be 2 on Netflix and 1 on Amazon.
Yep, they are doubling down on that one. Let's see. I do not know. Somebody just texted in Denver. Don't know what that is. Let's see. Okay, someone texting in about the flag football question. If there was a professional flag football league, do you think that would be, I guess, financially viable? Would it be supported? And Burr texted in and he says, flag football is just as boring as arena football was. I went to a couple arena football games.
The Still Dogs?
They were kind of fun. Taking the kickoffs off the net.
Me too, Conrad.
Bobby Humphrey was the head coach of the Birmingham Still Dogs.
Yeah, jumping into the crowd, make a catch. There's some fun elements to it. I'll be fair. When I watched it, though, I was like 9 years old.
I went to a couple of Omaha beef games.
The Omaha Beef.
The beef.
The Beef.
That is a great name.
Their mascot is Sirloin.
That's good.
That is
clever.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. Let's see. Matt in Birmingham chiming in about the Final Four ratings or the national championship. He says he thinks Houston versus Florida would be the biggest draw because of the Houston television market.
That's
bringing in a lot of eyeballs. That's a very
Houston,
good.
I think, is number 4 nationally.
Yes.
Market-wise.
Yeah.
In television.
No, that's a good point there. Let's see. We have someone that texted in. He says, this plane ride is the perfect time for Landrum to exercise his elaborate skill set in the fine arts of feces odor control.
Oh, my goodness.
Hopefully he has some
Does he have that spray with
spray, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Let's see. Jonathan texted in. He says, no man ever shops at Costco for himself. Every man is equipped at a grocery store with a list from his wife.
You know, I've never been to a Costco.
Have you ever been to the other one? The club?
I'm a member of the club.
You are a member of the
I'm there
of the
every
club?
Sunday.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess when I've been to those stores in the past, I've gone to the club more than I've gone to
Yeah,
to Costco.
it's just because where I live, it's
Yeah.
just not convenient for me to.
No, I can imagine it's not. Let's see. Somebody else texting in about tonight in the Crown tournament where you have Nebraska taking on Georgetown.
Brian Edwards told us to take Boise and Nebraska on a money line parlay.
That
tonight.
is right.
Big
Somebody
time.
texting in and says, dang, Nebraska a 9.5-point favorite tonight. Molly must be excited.
That's right.
Molly, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this game
An
tonight?
11.
Well, as I
Goodness.
pointed out to Molly yesterday because she had said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry about Alabama and the season, whatever, and it was a great season." And no, you do, and you're very thoughtful.
But
and
you
I
wouldn't even
appreciate
text her when she was ill.
No, but
she was struggling.
Did.
Wait, Conrad, continue though. This is a good story.
Yeah, but I reminded Molly. I said, "Well, if it makes you feel any better, Nebraska, their basketball season has lasted longer than Alabama's.
Boom.
Because they're still playing.
There it is.
For what that's worth." And then finally, we have Eric texting in. He says, "Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was upset about playing on Christmas Day because it was on a Wednesday night this year, and it gave them short prep time where they had 3 games in a 2-week period." I do remember that being an issue with, the reality of it is, once every 7 years you're going to get it on Sunday. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to do that, and if people keep watching on Christmas Day, I'm sure they will.
We appreciate everybody that joined us today. Obviously, Jonathan Nelson, General Manager of the Birmingham Barons, Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16, Bob Ibach. Go to NICOsports.com. Check out that wonderful Auburn memorabilia basketball for the Final Four, and Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. Landrum will join us from San Antonio, Texas tomorrow. Conrad, Molly, and myself will be in studio high atop Red Mountain. We appreciate you tuning us in each and every day. Keep it tuned right here to Jocks 94.5. Paul Feinbaum is next. The Braves tonight at 6:20. Keep it tuned right here, Jocks 94.5.